Microphones and headphones provided by Audio-Technica. To learn more, head over to audiotechnica.com. The views expressed on this episode of My Take Radio do not reflect the views, thoughts, or feelings of the My Take Radio staff, My Take Radio advertisers, or My Take Radio content partners. Listener and viewer discretion is advised.
This coverage is live and uncensored, so if you have any small children present, you may want to have them leave the room.
Hey, what's up, guys? My Take Radio episode 258 for Wednesday, December 3rd, 2014. I'm your host, Rich, and our call-in number is 347-324-3541. Again, that call-in number 347-324-3541. If this is your first time tuning in, My Take Radio is a variety show covering mixed martial arts, professional wrestling, gaming, and entertainment. As always, MTR is rated M for mature, so listener and viewer discretion is advised. All right, so before we get into this week's show, we got a lot to discuss. Just got to get a couple of news items out of the way. Got a funny monologue you guys will appreciate, and we're going to do some sound checks to make sure that our phone lines are actually working for this week. First up, we are in the month of December. As you all know, it is the holiday season, and as such, there are certain things that are definitely going to be a little different with regards to the broadcast schedule for the month of December. So I did want to get that out of the way so you guys will make note of that and don't message me or come looking for me the last 2 weeks of the month when we are going to be off air. Anyway, the official last two airings of My Take Radio for 2014 will be on December 17th and December 18th. We will be back on air on January 7th and January 8th. So make a note of that. No, the last two episodes of 2014 will be December 17th and December 18th. Obviously, with the two holidays, Christmas Eve, Christmas, and New Year's Eve and New Year's, obviously our broadcast schedules are going to be thrown for a loop. So I figured we would take the time off and just get a refresher, of course, and come back and start 2015 off with a bang. We are, of course, going to be updating mytakeradio.com, rageworks.net during that time, but there will be no live broadcast. But we will continue providing content. With regards to that, we've been putting up a lot of great content on rageworks.net, including Jay Santee's review of WWE 2K15. We are also working on reviews for Motorola's Moto X phone, as well as the Motorola 360 Android smartwatch. Those reviews should be up by this week, and I'm working on those. And my WWE 2K15 review should be up before the week is out. Just some scheduling issues have prohibited me from getting it out on time, but that stuff is just one of the many things that we are working on. In addition to that, the Gaming Awards are this Friday, and we will be working with our colleagues at Royal Flush Magazine for a live blog for that. I'm sure I will be discussing it with Slick, and as well as Danny and the rest of her team, as we live blog the Gaming Awards on Friday night. Once more details are available, of course, we will share them on social media, both on My Take Radio and RageWorks fan pages. Now, while we are on the subject of fan pages, I did want to mention something interesting I got from Facebook with regards to how they're going to continue handling pages for businesses and brands through 2015, primarily that they are pretty much pushing the focus on paid advertising. We're going to continue to stay the course. That's why if you guys are on our My Take Radio fan page, you're noticing that RageWorks content is showing up there. One of the reasons, of course, being to ensure that those that have not migrated over to the RageWorks Facebook fan page can still get the content on our My Take Radio fan page. So we're going to continue to do that for the foreseeable future. But in 2015, there will be a lot more changes and a lot more merging of RageWorks and My Take Radio across the board. Obviously, our YouTube presence and our social media presence will stay active, but it's just one of those things that we're going to continue to merge as the year goes on. With that said, definitely want to try and bring on board some new writers, definitely MMA, wrestling, gaming, etc. So if you share a passion for any one of those topics, definitely drop me a line, either mtrhost@mytakeradio.com or rich@rageworks.net, and we will definitely love to hear from you. Of course, send the writing sample if available and any previous work you may have done, just because we want to definitely continue to add to our roster of unique personalities. A lot of you guys really have soft spots for a lot of our staff for their unique content, including the Buried Boys, Jay Santee, our very own Ben, and the rest of the MTR crew. So we want to continue growing that and adding new stuff to the RageWorks brand. There is an announcement, hopefully, that I can have finalized before the year is out regarding us and the crew at Video Game News Radio. Once that's finalized and put together, we will make a formal announcement either directly on the site or on air if we get it done before the year is out. So I figured I would share that with you guys. As for the funny story for you guys I wanted to share, it actually involves me picking up a new cell phone. I picked up a Samsung Galaxy Note 4, which is quite nice. And couple of things. I'll admit I'm a gadget junkie, and I'm sure many of you that are techies much like myself share this pain, where we are usually taking our gadgets, selling them to upgrade to the latest and greatest. Given that we covered the Samsung announcement for this device, I was enamored both with the Note 4 and the Note Edge. Originally, my plan was to pick up the Note Edge, but considering that the phone retails for $800 or $900, it's something that definitely did not sit too well with me. I mean, the Note 4 had a better price, and I opted to go with that. So what ended up happening was I sold my Note 3 on eBay, and I actually got a decent amount of money for it, and applied that money towards the balance on this phone, because the way T-Mobile works is you either can buy the phone outright or you can spread the payments over the course of 24 months, unless, of course, you are part of the Jump program, where you would like to upgrade before the 2-year mark, and there's some crazy shit that they do, and whatever the case may be, you can upgrade before the 2-year mark. Usually what I do is I sell my device, I take the money from that sale and apply it to what I owe for that device, and then buy a new one. So in any case, I picked up a Note 4. I go to T-Mobile, and if you guys are techies much like myself, you know that every store you go to, you have a guy or a girl, your point person for all your purchases. This is the one person that doesn't try to offer you warranties or any of the other bullshit. They want to sell you your device. They share the same passions. They always have a little bit of small talk, and they just don't pester you. They take your money and they send you on your way. We all have these people, whether it's at your local Best Buy or your local GameStop or your mom and pop game store or wherever you may go. We all have a guy or a girl that hooks us up and makes our transactions as easy as possible. So in my case in T-Mobile, usually I have two people that fall in that category. Three, but the third person's a little flaky, but two consistent, great reps at the store that help us out and get us the gear we need, the billing cycles we need, the upgrades we want with zero issue. They don't try to upsell us or do any kind of shit. They just, here you go, thank you for your business, and send me on my way. So I walk in, and one of those people, one of those individuals was occupied. So I had to deal with the guy that is the quote-unquote manager of the store. So I go, I tell the guy, listen, I want a Note 4, and he says, okay, you know, do you want to pay off the old phone? So I pay off the old phone, and I tell him, yeah, I got to pay this off since I sent it on eBay, and I got to make sure that the serial number is clean and everything is fine. So he takes my money, and he gives me the phone. He gives me the brand new Note 4. So as he's giving me the phone, he's like, oh, you know, I wanted to tell you, you know, we're going to give you some accessories. So, you know, if you want the accessory, if you want, you could take the accessories and sell them on eBay. I'm like, listen, I don't want any accessories whatsoever. You know, I don't want any chargers. I have a really good Bluetooth stereo headset. I don't need anything. I just want the phone. He's like, yeah, but you could take it, and there's a rebate for Black Friday, and it basically comes out to you not paying anything, and you can take the stuff and sell it on eBay. So, if you guys are well-versed in mobile technology, you guys know that if you need cases, you're going to go to Amazon, or you're going to go to eBay, depending on what it is, and you can get a decent phone case for, you know, and go about your business. And Brian says you wanted what's called a dry sale. That is exactly right. Just a dry sale, and that's exactly it. I just wanted a dry sale. Give me my product, and we go about our business. So the guy was pretty much kind of insisting, yeah, but you know, you could get the flip case and the wireless charger. And I'm like, listen, I don't want any of that shit. I don't want a flip case because nothing is more annoying than the stupid flap hanging down when you're taking pictures. And I didn't want that. I don't want wireless charging because that's just another headache, etc., etc. Just sell me the damn phone. So he says, man, I should just sell this phone to somebody who will get the accessories. And at this point, I was annoyed, and I'm like, unless you don't want a place to come to work tomorrow, you're going to sell me the damn phone. So he sold me the phone begrudgingly, and of course his demeanor changed from jokey McJokeface to, you know, take your shit and get the fuck out of my store. So when he walked away, the guy that usually sells me my stuff comes over. He goes, yo, man, I just want to apologize for that dude. He's the manager, so, you know, we make money on accessories. We don't make money on phones. So, you know, he was going hard trying to get you to take the accessories for that reason. And I'm like, look, I understand you guys get commission and you guys make money off that shit, but guess what? I'm laying out X amount of money for, you know, my old phone, plus I'm paying the tax on this phone. It's like, I don't need shit else, and he should respect that no is no. So it was just a very frustrating experience for something that really shouldn't be that frustrating. I mean, I've shared with you stories from GameStop, horror stories from GameStop involving that sort of shit where, you know, they go and they, you know, they push in that sort of stuff. And, you know, GameStop, same thing. Like I said, I got a couple of different GameStops I go to in a pinch, and I know the individuals that work there, and they just sell me my game, or they give me an upgrade, whatever the case may be, and send me on my way. I really did not expect that. I wouldn't have expected that a quote unquote manager would be so pushy, and that was one of those things that really just frustrated me as you know, just as a consumer. It's like, you're a manager. If I said no, it's no. Just give me the damn phone, especially because I got 5 lines there. And I've been a T-Mobile customer, so you guys can laugh at how old I am. I've been a T-Mobile customer since they were OmniPoint. So, you know, that's how far back we're going. From OmniPoint to VoiceStream to whatever they were in between to T-Mobile, and that's where we're at. So I figured I'd share that with you guys just because it's the holidays, and I understand guys got to make a buck, but definitely we got no time for that pushy shit. Brian's asking with regards to the call-in number. Brian, you can call in that number via Skype. You could do push to talk via Skype if you go to Blog Talk Radio, or you could just dial in that number and it'll put you through to our switchboard. Figured I'd answer that for those of you that haven't called into the show before. That's how that works. All right, so with that said, just one of those crazy stories that has to be shared with you guys, because it's way out of left field. Like I said, usually my cell phone purchases are incredibly smooth, and I actually have, like I said, I have a Moto X and a Motorola 360 that we're reviewing, and we got some stuff that we're going to try and give away for the holidays as well. We're also going to work with our colleagues at Royal Flush to give away some stuff for their holiday grab bag, and once I get that, I will definitely share that with you guys, because Danny definitely takes care of her fans and her readers, along with the rest of the Royal Flush family. They definitely give away some awesome stuff. So what's on tap for tonight? We're going to be talking MMA news. Ben is probably going to be joining us, hopefully, once we do a check on the phone lines. And we're going to be talking about the UFC Reebok deal, which is going to give the UFC roster, quote-unquote, uniforms. We're going to dig into that a little bit. Of course, on the wrestling side of things, the big news story, the CM Punk interview with Colt Cabana, The Art of Wrestling. We're going to get into that, and that's going to probably lead to some really, really crazy conversation, because a lot of people are very torn with regards to that interview. We're also going to address the Stone Cold Steve Austin, Vince McMahon interview that happened after Raw, which was a really, really solid interview. Again, Stone Cold Steve Austin, as a podcaster, has just really come into his own. He delivers a genuine product, and he really pulls no punches. No disrespect to Chris Jericho, but sometimes Chris Jericho spends a lot of the time blowing himself up on his own show. So Stone Cold definitely got a lot out of Vince, and they really addressed a lot of the crazy stuff, including the elephant in the room, the CM Punk interview. So we're going to get into that. As always, we will take your calls for both segments, 347-324-3541. Just like Slick, know who you are, what topic you'd like to discuss, and we will bring you on board. So with that, let me check in on our very own Slick to make sure everything is running on all cylinders. Slick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, man.
All right. We are rocking and rolling. I hear you loud and clear. Everything seems to be working nice. I think the strategy for next year is no shows before Thanksgiving.
Gotcha.
Because clearly, I see that that Brian's in the queue. There's no need to screen him since he mentioned it in the chat. Let me bring him in before we jump into the MMA news for the week. Brian.
Yes.
What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey there, doing good. Just not used to using the Blog Talk Radio, that's all. Anyways, just want to talk to you about your T-Mobile experience. So it was good to hear you were able to get what you needed there, of course, at the store.
Yeah, I mean...
But, it seems to be that's the thing they want to push, the accessories. And I was just reading an article today that was so interesting, because they were talking about the similar thing at Radio Shack, where this guy had a whole blog post about working at Radio Shack out. Well, it wasn't a good experience. Basically, he was saying that's the thing. Basically, they were told as retail employees that they need to push the accessories, meaning they cannot just sell the phone. They have to you got to push the accessories. The case, the chargers, whatever you want to say. They need to get there. They want all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Because, like you said, they don't make the money off the phone.
Right, so. and I definitely understand that, but Brian, especially because and I've seen you active in the GFQ chats for all their shows. You know the deal, man. Especially when you're a techie, you always got your guy in every store. You know the layout of the store. You know what you want when you walk in. You know what you need. And listen, I don't mind the guy going through the spiel and telling me, listen, if you want some accessories, great. I respect the guy's hustle. My frustration stems from the fact that if I go, listen, I'm not interested, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, if I go, listen, I'm not interested, I'll pass, that's where it should end.
Trust me on this. The problem is comes down to these companies here is sometimes when you say no once, it's not enough. And these companies have to have a policy eventually to say, respect the customers. If they say no. Comcast did this with Ryan Block. I seen you saw his video about that with, who basically had like a half an hour. He's trying to get off Comcast.
Yep, I heard about that.
Take no for an answer.
Yep.
And it's like, these companies got to understand. Look, once you tell the salesperson in English, in your language that we're both talking here,
Right.
This is what I want. We're done. I don't have to answer you a million times. This is not a courtroom where you're trying to badger the witness, where you're trying to, trying to get somebody to admit something they're not trying to do. Just let me buy the phone and I'll be done.
Yeah, it's a crazy.
I totally.
No, I mean, not to cut you off. I apologize. It's a crazy thing where the typical retailers that we don't experience this strong arm tactic have become the bringers of that sort of in your face sales pitch. And you know what it is? Like I said, as a gamer, I go to GameStop, I buy stuff, and they do the pitch. Hey, do you want to reserve a game? Hey, do you want to do this? And I'll be like, listen, I'm good, thanks, whatever. Or sometimes I'll just say, listen, I review this stuff as a job. So it's one of those things where we just try and bang it out. But there are instances where, I said, it was just a shock for me.
What I would do for you, by the way, here's a little tip for you, because John Legere, he's the T-Mobile CEO. He's very active on Twitter.
Yep.
If you're concerned about your experience, and I really recommend you doing this, you should tweet to him. He is really great about this kind of stuff, and that's actually, one of the things I'll say that's been a strong thing for T-Mobile is they're really trying to be competitive,
Right.
So if they want to keep your business for the long term, you need to tell them, look, you guys need to change your policies. This is just, you can't, be strong-arming people, but we're buying accessories. And it's, when somebody says no, respect that, So I recommend you tweet him because he's really great about the, those things. So
yeah, anyway. I'm gonna give him a shot, and I'll send him a tweet just because it'd be cool to have that as just like, hey, the president of T-Mobile responded, and I'm just gonna pitch it to him, and if anything happens, I'll definitely let you know.
Absolutely. I just want to let you know about that because I was just I hear your frustration and let you know I've been through myself, and my customers might have been through that stuff. I know other people have, and just we need to get these companies to understand that when somebody says no, you back off, and that's it.
There you go.
People they should be good about that, and I'm just shocked that you had that experience because they need to be, because otherwise you're going to go to Verizon or AT&T. If that's the same experience, why not go there with a network that's bigger and I don't want to say more reliable. I can't say that for sure, but it's just bigger in that regard. So
well, like I said,
anyways.
I've been with them since they were OmniPoint. I'm not going to. Whenever they pull up my information, they look at it and they go, "Holy cow!" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been here a long time." So it's just it was just weird, like that new business tactic. I mean, they tried it with my wife when she got the iPhone, but it wasn't as aggressive. So I just figured I would share that with the audience. But I'm gonna take your advice and definitely give that a shot.
I'll give him a tweet. Do that, please.
Sounds good.
So.
I'll keep you posted. I appreciate you calling in, man. It's definitely join us whenever you get a chance. I always like to hear fresh voices.
Of course. Thank you. I appreciate it. And have a good show, okay?
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Talk to you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
There you have it. GFQ's Brian Monroe, always a very vocal listener for all the shows on the GFQ network. Always awesome to see him interact with us. Definitely a guy that's been in the trenches as a listener for the GFQ shows, and I'm glad he took the time to tune into MTR. So thanks for that, Brian. I'll keep you abreast of how things go if I tweet the CEO of T-Mobile, just because I would tweet him and just ask, hey, is it a new business tactic to be so aggressive with offering accessories? I think it's definitely something I'd love to hear what he has to say. Anyway, with that said, again, on deck tonight, we're going to talk about the week's MMA news, including the Reebok UFC announcement. Ben should be joining us for that. In addition to that, we'll be talking about Monday Night Raw. We are going to get into the CM Punk debate. I know our very own Jay Santee was very, very vocal about that, and I definitely want to hear his take on it. I know Slick is going to join us for that because he has some interesting things he wants to discuss as well. Definitely looking forward to getting all that stuff out of the way. So let's get that ball rolling with some MMA stuff first, shall we? My Take Radio's MMA segment is brought to you by MMAwarehouse.com. Get all the latest and greatest training gear and accessories and all your favorite fighter tees by heading over to MMAwarehouse.com. If you want to save on your orders, definitely hit up our ads on MyTakeRadio.com or RageWorks.net, and you can either get free shipping or any of the other promotions that our friends at MMA Warehouse are running. Of course, purchases done that way do help out MTR and RageWorks, allowing us to get better gear and, of course, upgrade the show to create a better experience for you guys, the listeners. All right, so I want to open things up with a drug suspension for Michinori Tanaka, bantamweight, who was found to have 2 banned substances in his system as he took on Kyung Ho Kang at UFC Fight Night Hunt versus Nelson in September. He tested positive for ephedrine and pseudoephedrine, which are both banned by the World Anti-Doping Agency in regulated competition. Tanaka lost his bout via split decision, and the Japanese prospect was forced to return his $50,000 Fight of the Night bonus. So there you have it. The 24-year-old, of course, will be required to pass a drug test to resume competition. Very rarely do I hear people getting popped for ephedrine and pseudoephedrine. Of course, those are ingredients found in supplements to cut weight. Usually, we've known it from things like Stacker 2 and all those old school supplements that really had that level of energy boosting supplementation. I mean, Stacker 2, I remember, was a big one. Then later on, Stacker 3, and so many of those other supplements. Obviously, as more and more athletes died from ephedra overdoses, the industry changed the formulas for a lot of these supplements and changed a lot of stuff, but people still find ways around it. It's weird to see a guy like this get popped for this type of a supplement because, like I've said, there's other diuretics and other things out there that are less intensive and less rigorous on the body. But again, Michinori Tanaka is suspended for the time being due to testing positive for those 2 substances. I've just been informed that Ben is on the line, so I'm going to bring Ben on, and we're going to go through this craziness in the world of MMA. Big Ben, welcome back.
What's up, man?
It's good to have you back after last week's fiasco. It feels so good to get you in here because we got a lot of stuff to discuss. First and foremost, I want to get some of the smaller news out of the way because obviously the UFC uniform deal is a big deal that we're gonna have to discuss. But first things first. A fight between Phil Davis and Ryan Bader is on deck for a UFC Fight Night on Fox 14. That goes down January 24th. That's the card in Stockholm, Sweden. Of course, Alexander Gustafsson, Anthony Rumble Johnson is your main event. Your co-main, Dan Henderson taking on the Dreamcatcher, Gegard Mousasi. Definitely a solid card. Those 3 fights alone make this a must-see card. Now, I've seen Rumble and Gustafsson doing a lot of press, and Anthony Johnson is a huge dude next to Alexander Gustafsson. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. This man used to fight at 170, and he's bigger than a lot of heavyweights.
Dude, he's a monster next to him. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Johnson, now that all his legal troubles, I guess, are over with the whole domestic abuse accusing thing, it's good to see him back because, this dude is a giant light heavyweight now, and he's packing some power. I'm really interested to see how that fight goes because, we haven't really seen anyone but John Jones really hit Gustafsson clean in the face.
Right.
I'm really interested to see what Anthony Johnson, because Anthony Johnson's got that kind of power that just changes your life in the middle of the cage. Like you don't want to get hit by this dude.
He's got brain shattering power. It's insane. You know what's crazy though? It's like you got 2 hitters on both the main and the co-main because Dan Henderson, that overhand right, the H-bomb, that connects and it's lights out. He's taken on a very credible guy in Gegard Mousasi. I just feel that watching Gegard Mousasi fight, it's like watching a mime or watching ballet, because the dude is he just shows zero emotion, zero interest in fighting, even though he's a talented and an amazing competitor. I mean, he comes from the Fedor Emelianenko school of ass kicking, but I just don't feel any sort of, I don't even want to say interest in watching his fights, because his fights are always exciting, but I always know that they're going to be very methodical, very by the book. So to see him in the co-main, it's because they're expecting Dan Henderson to just fucking, destroy him, or at least make the fight a little more than the norm.
I don't think it's because they're expecting Dan Henderson to do the destroy.
Well, they're expecting Dan Henderson to try.
Kind of shot to me.
You don't think he's got a shot, huh?
He's gonna try, but I think this is more geared towards Gegard. I mean, one is almost 40, or is 40, and one is Gegard Mousasi. Like, I think they want Gegard to win. I think there's a really good chance he will win, because I mean, you're right about the methodical, kind of slow. I wouldn't even call it slow per se, but real methodical. He doesn't show any emotion. He's just a real methodical, slow-paced kind of fighter, but he beats nearly everyone he fights. And I think that's going to pose all sorts of problems for Dan Henderson, who, without HGH, I don't know how much it affects him. I think it affects him more than anybody, because he was using it because he's older. Like, he probably needed it. He, actually needed it. And I just think, watching the Daniel Cormier fight, I don't know if that happens to him. If he was on HGH at the time, like him getting big brothered around the ring.
Well, you know what it is? It's very interesting how they want to pace that sort of a fight, because when you look at it, a guy like Mousasi is definitely going to try and pick apart. Like, Dan Henderson always goes in there and he tries to gives a show. And don't get me wrong, I think Dan Henderson's accepted the fact that title contention for him is a long shot at best, especially at 205 or even at 185. It's a dangerous prospect for him that could end his career basically. So I just find it interesting that they would pair him with this guy, and again, the methodical pace and defeating a legend like Dan Henderson would be great for him. But I also feel that the tide can change with one punch when Dan Henderson is concerned,
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. I mean, if he throws that punch, it's a wrap. The problem is, I don't think he'll be able to catch Gegard with it. I mean, Dan Henderson, his setup for that punch is always the same. That's why I really gave him no real shot against John Jones. It's like better fighters. I mean, not to say he was fighting bad fighters, but he was fighting guys that kind of are kind of like blood and sweat fighters. Like, they're not out here really game planning and really looking to see how to get rid of that punch. And when you saw when he fought Jake Shields neutralized that punch. Like,
yep.
he neutralized that. Like, I mean, yeah, he got caught with it early, but after that he neutralized it. And I thought John Jones would be able to do that, and I think Gegard Mousasi will be able to do that just by outboxing him. So, I mean, we'll see. But I really think there's a really good chance Gegard wins this fight.
Well, here's the thing. If Dan Henderson loses this fight in vicious fashion, or gets knocked out, do you think it would be time to start discussing retirement for Dan Henderson? I mean, no disrespect, but this is a guy coming off 2 wars with Shogun,
Shorten both of their lives.
Right, thank you.
I think especially Shogun. I think both him and Shogun need to retire, honestly. There comes a certain point where you need to just go ahead and hang him up. Like, there's no shame at this point, I feel, and sitting down and putting the sport away. I think I hope Dan Henderson has made enough money to where he could sit back and be comfortable. And I really think that if he loses this next fight, win or lose, honestly, I think he should probably think about retiring, to be honest with you. He's an older guy. He's been fighting since, like, the infancy of MMA. Like, I really think it's time for him to just, really look into life afterwards.
I agree 100%. Now, this Ryan Bader Phil Davis fight is very interesting because it creates a definite buzz at 205. I think both guys have incredible wrestling pedigree. I think, though, in terms of stand-up, I think Phil Davis has better stand-up in this fight.
I think Phil Davis is probably better everywhere. Ryan Bader is, for lack of a better term, a gatekeeper at this point. And I don't mean that completely negatively, but he's not gonna ever get a title shot. And he is what he is at this point. I think Phil Davis, though I think you can break Phil Davis mentally, I don't think Ryan Bader has the skill set to do it.
Right.
And I think in this fight, he's really going to run up against a better wrestler and a better striker.
That makes sense. I mean, you know what it is with Bader also, and with even just 205 as a whole, it feels like 205 is just a revolving door of guys that have kind of been at the upper level and just haven't progressed, because they'll win 2 fights, lose 2 fights, win 1 fight, lose a fight. You know what I mean? It feels like a lot of these guys are in that cycle. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no breakout guys at 205 other than the guys that are where they should be. Am I wrong in that assessment?
I don't think you're completely wrong in your assessment. It just doesn't feel like 205 has really developed talent per se right now, and it might have something to do with the guy on top who is lording over the division right now. So, I mean, the bigger prospects are all going into the title fights, like John Jones, Alexander Gustafsson, Daniel Cormier, Anthony Johnson. They're the 4 best light heavyweights on the planet, and it's really a huge gap between them and everybody else.
And that's exactly it. And, you know, it almost feels like these guys, and don't get me wrong, they're training hard, they're doing what they got to do, but I just don't feel I don't feel that the guys are reaching for the proverbial for the proverbial brass ring like some of these other guys. You get what I'm saying? Like, these guys, they're going through more rigorous camps, they're doing more stuff, but there's not an evolution of technique to where they start kind of inching ahead of everyone else. Like, Gustafsson is tailor-made. It's like he's vanilla John Jones. You know, he's got the reach, he's got the height, he's got great technique. Anthony Rumble Johnson, great wrestling, tremendous knockout power, just a massive human being at 205. Daniel Cormier has the wrestling pedigree. I mean, the only guy, and definitely not now, but back in the day that was the breakout, was Rashad. Like, look how far back we got to go to talk about a guy breaking out at 205. Like, remember that breakout period where we had
Jones.
We had Jones, Rashad, Forrest Griffin to a degree, Rampage when he was not trying to go out there and beg people to stand with him. You know what I mean? Like, we were in that interesting period where it was like, yo, there's the top 3 guys. Well, correction, the bottom 3 guys could shuffle at any moment because the breakdown of technique was so vast, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember that. It wasn't too long ago. It's unfortunate, but it just seems like it really came down to guys haven't developed the way I think the UFC thought. Like a guy like Ryan Jimmo, who they brought in, hasn't really developed into a star like I think they would have hoped. A guy like Jimmy Manawa, they brought in guys, but they just haven't panned out the way I think they really thought they would.
I agree 100%. It's funny because EA Sports announced that they were releasing new fighters for the game for EA Sports UFC, and one of the guys that they announced that they were releasing was Mark Coleman. And it was funny because it's like when you talk about like Mark Coleman, Rampage, who's going to be released in the game, which is really, really funny to me. You look at guys like Mark Coleman, Rampage, Chuck Liddell, even Forrest Griffin, love or hate him. And it's like that entire generation, we watched it rise and fall during our lifetimes as MMA fans. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. It is crazy, like how young this sport is. Like we're still technically in the infancy. Well, I mean, in the early 20s of a sport, and it's insane how much it's changed in such a little bit of time.
Well, you know what's funny? I wanted to bring this up because it was a shock. It wasn't a shock to hear this, but I just didn't realize that he had fought so much. The announcement that Eve Edwards was retiring. Guy's fought 17 years and 66 fights. Started fighting at the age of 17. Dude, it's like we've been watching that guy fight pretty much most of his career, because I remember him fighting in a cavalcade of promotions: Elite XC, Shudo, Bellator, Strikeforce.
Yeah, I mean, Eve Edwards has been everywhere. At one time, he should have been the lightweight champion of the UFC.
Right.
When they didn't have a lightweight title for some reason.
That's right.
He should have been a title holder at that time. But Eve Edwards is a legend in the sport, man, and it's unfortunate. I mean, well, it's not really unfortunate. It's good that he realized when to get out.
Yeah, well, you know what's crazy? He's only 38. He's only 38, not to cut you off.
Yeah, he's only 38, but his last fight, he got knocked out pretty viciously.
Yep.
And he looked slow, and he looked older, and I think the writing was on the wall for him, and it's good that he didn't he wasn't forced out by health or anything like that. He just realized, you know what, I'm not as good as I used to be. Let me go ahead and bow out gracefully.
Well, you know what's funny about that? Like I said, you look at this guy, I feel like I've watched pretty much Eve Edwards' career in practically every promotion that he's fought in. And it's just insane. And again, he's 38, I'm 34. You see what I'm saying? It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
now,
someone like me, I've been around for the entire. I'm 25 in 2 weeks. Like, I've been around for the entire existence of the UFC.
Exactly, which is crazy, and yeah, we're dating ourselves in saying that, but you know what it is? We could look back and talk about, yeah, this was the high point, this was the lull, this was the low point, this was when the sport went mainstream, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Which brings me to the Reebok announcement. So, for those of you that aren't aware, the UFC, usually the way it works is fighters that fight for the sport have their own sponsorships with various companies. Some of the more marquee athletes, the GSPs, the John Jones, Junior Dos Santos, Anderson Silva, these guys have been sponsored by brands like Nike, Under Armour, et cetera, et cetera. Then other up-and-coming companies have made their name sponsoring some of these fighters, clothing brands like Affliction, Triumph United, Tap Out, of course, and a litany of other companies have been a factor in the careers of numerous athletes. So the UFC, there were rumblings that they were going to institute what they were calling a uniform. And basically it would just be, X company would create, shorts and shirts and other apparel for the fighters, and they would have advertising spots that would be available to advertisers, of course, approved by the UFC, but the bulk of it would be available to the fighters. There were numerous rumblings of companies that were going to be involved. Initially, people thought it was going to be Nike. Other people thought it was going to be Adidas. Later on, Under Armour. And earlier this week, it was announced that out of all the companies, it was going to be Reebok. Now, before we get into the specifics, I want to pitch it to you, Ben, because let's be honest, neither you nor I expected it to be Reebok of all companies.
No, I did not. I have other issues with this idea, but not that there's anything particularly wrong with Reebok. I mean, hell, when I went out earlier today, I was wearing some Crazy 8s. So there's nothing particularly wrong with Reebok. It's just this idea of a uniform is quite stupid to me. How can I put this? It undermines the individual nature of this sport,
right? Forcing
a uniform on everybody,
right?
And it also, like, the way they talk, and this is without seeing the pay scale, so I reserve ultimate judgment when I see the pay scale. But for them to say your pay is designated by your ranking kind of makes me worry. Like, who makes the final decision on those rankings?
And I have news on that, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, like, okay, well, I mean, I heard that they're going to try to do a new, some kind of new committee, but here's my thing, like, this is supposed to be an individual sport. Like,
right.
This is something that Dana White is always trumpeting, like, when teammates don't want to fight each other, you know, this is an individual sport, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
If you're forcing everybody to do a uniform, one, you're taking money out of smaller fighters' pockets, because the bigger fighters they're going to make their money. Even without this deal, they were going to make their money. The John Joneses, the Ronda Rouseys, the Johnny Hendricks, they're going to get theirs.
Right.
But fighters like a debuting UFC fighter that hasn't had a fight, how are you designating what he's getting paid if this is based on rankings? And I would just need to see some sort of pay model, because it just seems like a way for the UFC to make the fighters completely dependent on them for everything. And I hate that idea, because it makes them less likely to unionize. It makes them less likely to fight for their rights.
Right.
As fighters or as athletes, because you're now forcing them, like, well, we pay you. We control your sponsorships too. Like, you can't do anything without us. And I feel like it's gonna draw some fighters to a Bellator. I mean, not World Series of Fighting, because World Series of Fighting is. But it's going to draw some fighters to a Bellator. It's going to draw some fighters to, Bellator. Like, because they're going to be like, well, you can make as much money as you want on the side, plus what we pay you with sponsorships. But the UFC has a cap on that now.
Well, here's how it lays down. Lorenzo Fertitta said the following, and I quote, "We have come to an agreement for what we think is a landmark deal for both the sport of mixed martial arts as well as our brand in the UFC. We look at this as Reebok and the UFC are essentially changing the sports landscape again. This clearly has never been done in combat sports. As of right now, it is a 6-year partnership," and obviously the details were not, the financial terms were not released, but UFC officials said that the agreement represents the most valuable non-broadcast contract the company has ever signed. Now, the way it's going to work is that fighter rankings will help determine the pay for fighters. UFC champions will be paid at the highest level per fight, while the remaining fighters will be tiered based on their spot in the official UFC rankings. Fighters ranked 1 through 5 will be paid at one level, 6 to 10 at a lower level, and 11 to 15 below that. Unranked fighters will be paid at a base rate. The payments will remain consistent regardless of whether the athlete's bout airs on pay-per-view, Fox Sports 1, or UFC Fight Pass. The new deal means that starting with Fight Week for next summer's UFC 189 in Vegas, existing sponsors will no longer be able to appear on fighter clothing. This includes Fight Night, all pre-fight media appearances. Also, in-cage sponsor banners will be eliminated. Fighter camps will be outfitted with approved clothing to create a uniform look in athletes' corners. So here's the breakdown. And before I pitch it to you, you got to look at this. If you've watched MMA as long as we have, and you take a fighter like Mauricio Shogun Rua, who we all know, as soon as he comes out, he wears the iconic white shorts with Bad Boy logo. It is his trademark. Yep. It is what he is recognized for. Same thing, Vanderlei Silva has the black shorts. You know, every fighter has a certain look, a certain part of their identity. You know, the Diaz brothers are coming out with Metal Militia hoodies. They're going to have them on. It's what makes exactly what you say, the individuality of the sport, just more endearing. It helps you relate on a different level. Now all you're going to have is an army of clones coming out. And yes, there's going to be special Reebok merchandise that's going to be relegated to certain fighters. Like, you know, you're going to have your John Jones champion hoodie and your Ronda Rousey, you know, warm-up jumpsuit or whatever the case may be. But what bothers me is that the fighters are in essence they're going to be carbon copies of one another until they step in that cage, which is crazy because these guys, the build up to their fight is only but a factor of who they are as athletes.
Yeah. I hate the idea of uniformity in this type of sport. Like, as much as I thought the last Bellator show was a clusterfuck, one of the cooler parts was the entrances, the different, seeing each fighter being different, and they're not all being the same. Now, still, the show was a clusterfuck, but it was nice to see something like that, because the UFC kind of has worked really hard to eliminate that.
Right.
And now, like, it's clear, like, they don't want any real individuality, because the UFC is not selling fighters, it's selling the UFC, which is a mistake they've been making for quite some time now.
That's right.
And this is just another step in that direction. Like, it's just another step in that direction of, we're selling the UFC. The fighter is just going to survive. Like, I mean, the fighter, we can interchange the fighters.
Right.
But the UFC is what sells. And I don't believe that.
Nope.
Because every time I want a friend to come watch a fight, or we go to a bar to watch a fight, they're like, who's fighting?
Right.
They're not, no one's trying to go see the UFC. They want to know who's fighting.
And that's the thing that they're, I understand, listen, the NBA makes their athletes dress a certain way for events. The NFL does the same thing. Mm-hmm. But think about this. Guys like, here's a good example. You look at a LeBron James, a Kobe Bryant, and let's use LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and Michael Jordan. Each one of those guys, yes, they wore uniforms, but each uniform had an iconic factor about it. LeBron James has his headband, Jordan had his signature shoe, Kobe had, the colorway for the Laker jerseys, and the way that that he wore his shorts, or the way he wore his socks. You know what I mean? There were visual cues that went with each fighter. Meanwhile, in MMA, if everybody comes out with a Reebok style hoodie, or Reebok style fight shorts, they're not going to be able to even add those little touches that make them unique. And this goes back to what you were saying about Bellator being a spectacle. Bellator was a spectacle, but at least their fighters had entrances. At least if you're going to make these guys dress the fucking same, spend some money on, hey, let's get a nice little ramp, or let's get, some big screen TVs, get some cool fight music, maybe the highlight package behind it as they come out. You know what I'm saying? At least do that.
Yeah, it's just so strange to me that this would be something that they would think was a good idea. Especially because is Johnny Hendricks, he's sponsored by Adidas, right?
I believe he was,
or
yeah.
Was it Reebok?
I think he was sponsored by Adidas.
Yeah, he's sponsored by Adidas. Like, you're cutting guys' money. Like, and I'll be pissed about Johnny Hendricks unless you're giving me exactly what Adidas was giving me. I don't want this. Like, why would I want this? Well, there's no upside for the fighters with this.
Well, the champs are getting whatever higher pay scale there are, but here's an interesting thing, and it's how the rankings are going to be determined with the quote-unquote media that's going to be involved. And it's like, so random Brazilian media member number 5 and, ex-radio guy and ex-Yahoo journalist are going to have a say in how I get paid? You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Like Ariel Helwani, let's not kid ourselves. Ariel Helwani, Karen Bryant. you know what I mean? Let's go down the list of the usual. Ron Kruk,
Luke Thomas,
Bas Rutten. It's the usual. There's a certain level of guys that are associated with MMA media that have a presence. So fighters that don't like those guys, or those guys that don't like those fighters, those guys are going to be like, yo, really? X dude may have a say in where I place for me to get paid? Like, dude, that's an eye-opener in itself.
Yeah, I just don't like that idea. And it also makes it harder to incentivize fighters. Like, okay, Conor McGregor's ranked, what, like 3 right now at featherweight?
Right.
Like, I mean, yeah, he's getting a certain amount of money, but the UFC used to be able to just give dudes money. Like, John Jones' Bentley that he crashed was just given to him.
Yep.
Like, I mean, I'm sure they can still do those things, but I don't know. This just seems like such a poorly thought out idea to me.
Well, you know what it was?
It doesn't seem...
No, go ahead. I'll finish your thought.
It just seems like, I don't know what the UFC is planning with this. Like, I don't see the upside to doing this. I don't see any real upside to doing this because, one, you're making all your fighters individual, or taking all the individuality from your fighters, and then two, you're allowing people that aren't you to dictate how much you pay them, and I just don't like that idea.
Well, you know what the thing is, too? I have a feeling that this was also a big factor because UFC looked at the big picture. They got tired of guys having improper fight shorts. They got tired of companies like Condom Depot, because I'm sure Fox was like, yo, really, Condom Depot? You know what I mean? Dude wipes. Like, listen, I understand you're an up-and-coming fighter. A company calls you, hey, man, we want to throw your logo on there. You know, Bob's, Chrysler, Ford, and Jeep. You know, whatever the case may be. And you're like, listen, I got to pay these trainers. I got to pay this camp. I got to pay this. I got to pay that. Fuck it. You know, Condom Depot it is. You know, and I understand that. But I have a feeling that this was a three-tiered issue. Fox was like, all right, we're gonna invest in MMA. Welcome to the party. And as soon as they started seeing certain things, they were like, yo, you know, we're not going to tell you guys how to run your business, but we're going to tell you how to run your business. You get what I'm saying? And it was funny.
Okay.
No, the only thing I want to say is it was funny when Anderson Silva said he stopped being with Nike, that when they were like, oh, you know, Anderson, how come you aren't with Nike? You know, it was like, he's normal. And then it was like, you know, as Dana White in the UFC, which means, you know, like Anderson Silva wasn't dropped by Nike.
He was told, hey, you need to cancel that contract.
Exactly. Exactly, and that's the point.
Jones, like the John Jones losing that contract, I find it interesting when that happened because I highly doubt Nike would have cut his contract.
Yep.
Like, I mean, thinking about it now, I highly doubt they would have cut his contract just for that fight. Yep. Like, it just doesn't seem like something work. I mean, they've kept people that have actually like committed crimes, and he got in a scuffle. Like, it doesn't seem like that would be the time for them to get rid of you.
Yep.
Just like that.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like when you turn on a UFC event, it's like unless you know who's fighting, dude, you don't know what fucking state they're in. You got no clue about anything because it all looks the same. Like, that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Like the iconic imagery of certain guys, like, dude, you know, Chuck Liddell is remembered for his Iceman shorts with him on them. You know what I mean? Guys like, you know, like that. Guys like, you know, like I said, Vanderlei. You know, certain guys who just have iconic fight gear. And now it's like, yeah, you guys all look the same.
I'm sure they're going to like allow like, you know, variations or different. Like, I'm sure they'll allow all that stuff. But God, this is just a stupid idea to me. Like, it's just this would not be what I would think would be something that would be worked on. Like, I don't think it's important.
Yep.
Like, at all. Like, work on making stars. Like, this seems petty to me.
Well, that's why I said it. It's like you're going to turn on the TV, everything is going to look the same, and it's going to be drab as fuck. I'm sorry, Bellator was a circus, and it was a spectacle. And, you know, they had, you know, Cheeto Green from the barrio rapping for certain dudes, and that's fine. But, you know, at least there was something like, you know, hey, you know, King Mo had the chicks with him and whatever. Like, you know, spend a little money. At least if these guys are going to wear uniforms and shit, like I said, a simple monitor setup, a decent entranceway, and, you know, some highlight packages and their music. And that's it. Maybe a little pyro, depending on who it is. You know, I mean, yes, it's borrowing from WWE, and it's borrowing even from Bellator. But think about it. When you watch wrestling, and a guy like John Cena comes out, and you hear that iconic music, and then, you know, his logo, whatever it is, you know what's happening. You get what I'm saying? When The Rock, as soon as you heard The Rock's beat drop, you knew what time it was. Or the glass break for Stone Cold Steve Austin. Exactly. You knew the deal, and that's where I'm afraid that the UFC is going to lose. Not that they're going to lose their audience, but people are just going to turn it on and be like, who's fighting? I can't tell. Like, obviously, I'm sure people are going to make changes, and they're going to try to make it cool, because Reebok isn't stupid. They got to say, listen, we got to make this shit look good so motherfuckers buy it.
Yeah, I'm sure every fighter is going to have their own. like even the fighters that are just like a one-off, like I'm sure they have their own uniform or their own nice. Like I'm sure Reebok pulls you aside, like when you get signed by the UFC, like okay, what color you want your shorts to be?
Yep.
What you want to design? Like I'm sure they do that, and I'm sure like if you get more popular, like I'm sure Ronda Rousey's fight gear looks nothing like Beck Rawlings' fight gear is gonna look.
Nope,
but
definitely not.
It's just a poor idea to me. Like it's just not a good idea to me.
It's going to be weird. Like a guy like GSP, if he comes back, you know, no Under Armour, no nothing, you know, no Fleur de Lis affliction on his shorts, you know? Like he'll probably have a Fleur de Lis like because he's Canadian, but it's like you can't make it look like the one on the Affliction logos.
Yeah, like it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know. Like it's just a bad idea to me.
and they also, in essence, and people are gonna hate me for saying this, they're gonna kill all those one-off brands, all those T-shirt companies that, you know, pop up out of nowhere.
They're killing all of those.
Yeah, all of those guys are done. Like Triumph United and Torque. You know, I feel bad for Uriah Faber because he was, you know, he got that Torque shit popping, but it's like, sorry, dude, can't wear that starting next year. Like, and it's crazy because it's like, yo, your corner has to wear that gear. No more banners, so you can't even get
like
dudes
Greg
on TV.
Greg Jackson has his own. He's sponsored.
Right.
Greg Jackson by himself is sponsored.
Right.
And in fact, I saw an interview today where he was like, "Yeah, I can't wear this anymore.
Yep.
Like, this is money for me."
Yeah, the Bonnie Akai sponsorship.
Yeah, that's him. That has nothing to do with his fighters. That's for him, and he can't do that anymore. And I don't know. It's just
like it's like. Hey,
there's no need for the uniformity.
It's like, hey, I'm sponsored by Affliction, but I can only wear this shirt at an after party, and nobody can take a picture of me if it's for the UFC magazine. Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah, also, like, I think they're really hurting, really, the business model of all of these little clothing brands. All of them.
Yep.
Like, they've probably effectively killed probably 90% of them.
Damn right. Like, think about it. One clothing company who's been killing it is Roots of Fight. And whenever you see Ronda Rousey and a lot of these guys, what are they wearing? Roots of Fight stuff. It's like, guess what you can't do anymore? Support that company who's creating awesome designs. Hey, Dana, by the way, you better not be wearing a fucking Bruce Lee t-shirt at the fucking weigh-ins. Right? Let's be realistic.
Well, he probably will be able to.
No, fuck that, man.
He's able to.
Fuck that. If nobody else can wear it, neither can they. Because that's bullshit. Like you know, Joe Rogan wearing like his cool shit. You think Joe Rogan's gonna sit there with some Reebok fucking t-shirt?
Joe Rogan has a deal with Affliction.
There you go.
Joe Rogan has his own deal with Affliction.
He has a deal with Affliction. I think he has a deal with Onnit. It's like, yo, he's not gonna be able to rock an Onnit t-shirt.
Nah, none of them can rock any of that shit anymore. If this is really what you want to do, like, Reebok needs to start making button ups.
Oh, dude,
Joe Rogan on the
Dude, Joe Rogan's gonna have to start being at the weigh-ins. Like, all right, I'm gonna wear this Reebok shirt, and as soon as that shit is done, as soon as the tape is done, he's gonna be like, all right, this shit's gotta come off. Like they're gonna Reebok is gonna be hated, and it's not even gonna be their fault.
Yeah, no, I don't. It's just stupid idea. Just stupid idea. And I'm sure they've thought about all this, but to me, it just seems like I don't know why you would want to do this.
I agree 110%. I did it's something we're gonna be watching. We still got one whole year to go, and I'm sure as the year moves on, they're gonna start showing us samples because there've been samples like Dana White's been kind of leaking samples on Instagram. Like, yo, this is how this is going to look, and here's an idea of what this is going to look like. And I'm like, all right, yeah, maybe. It's like, I haven't worn a Reebok product since the pumps when I was a kid. And even now,
I got,
grown-ass adult, I'd wear them.
Shoes.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're going to have to go hard.
Kamikazes.
There you go. Those are, that's a solid pickup.
It's not, I got some Kamikazes. That's it. That's the only, and I got my pumps. That's it.
That's it.
I haven't worn anything Reebok in a really long time.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. But, you know, we got a year to go, and they're going to definitely work their hardest. The only thing that's going to make them stick out more is that, you know, you'll be able to buy UFC t-shirts at Modell's, etc. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be fine. You know, Dick's Sporting Goods without having to go to UFC.com. And that's fine, but...
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, unless the uniforms look really cool. I mean, I haven't been one to wear MMA clothing for the most part anyway. But unless the outfits look really cool and maybe they come out with a signature shoe that's worth wearing, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe?
I mean, I got a decent. I had a decent stable of, you know, Affliction shirts, Extreme Couture shirts. You know, just because, you know, I was supporting the sport. And then now that I'm a little older and my hair's a little grayer, I'm like, yeah, I got to put all this on eBay. All of it's got to go.
You can't be wearing bedazzled shirts, like.
Nah, man, that's one thing I never did. But you know, I have a, you know, the Rampage shirt with all the wolf heads on it. You know, like shit like that.
Yeah.
I got, you know, because I got to support those dudes. But yeah, I don't know. But I want to switch gears for two reasons. So Vanderlei's gonna appeal his lifetime ban. He's gonna appeal his lifetime ban, and his lawyer seems to have a pretty plausible argument. But I'm just like, dude,
What was the argument? I haven't heard this.
He goes like this. He says, and I quote, he said to MMA Junkie, it's an appeal to a judge to hear this legal issue that the Nevada State Athletic Commission gave short shrift to. They didn't even address it. They just said motion denied. The whole thing has just been one big kangaroo court. Now we're about to get a real hearing. That Nevada State Athletic Commission decision was predetermined. He said that they're going to get a court date in January or February, and what's going to happen is that they're saying Vanderlei was running from the tester, but they're running. They took the full 60 days to file the official ruling against Vanderlei Silva, which just delays it. He was like, it took me a day to file my petition. Now, one of the arguments that they're saying is that they didn't have the authority to discipline him because he was unlicensed at the time that he allegedly evaded the test.
What does that matter? How the fuck does that even matter? You're about to compete.
Dude, lawyers, man. Lawyers. Hashtag lawyers, man.
How the fuck does that even matter? You're about to go punch another man in the face for money.
Yep.
They should be able to test you.
Yep.
Like, what? You ran away from the test, which clearly, to me, I'm not a lawyer. I do have working on my degree in criminal justice, but that seems like an admission of guilt to me.
Yep.
It seems like a clear admission of guilt.
Yep.
That you dead sprint out the back door to not get tested. And
that's right.
I've been a huge Vanderlei fan. In fact, like, ironically, like the first highlight video I ever showed my girlfriend when I was trying to get her to understand what MMA was like an old Vanderlei highlight on YouTube like 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
Been a huge Vanderlei fan, but this shit, the way he's going about this, like, dude, shut up.
Dude,
stop talking.
When the lawyer
because
said
the more
that,
you talk, the more like, huh?
When the lawyer said that, and I saw it on MMA Junkie's page, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, like the more him and his lawyer talk, it's like, y'all don't understand how the world works.
Nope.
Or especially Vanderlei. Like, Vanderlei's whole, the UFC's not letting me fight anywhere. Yeah, because you're still under contract.
Right.
So legally, they don't have to let you do anything.
That's correct.
Ever. The UFC is really vindictive. If they really wanted to, they could sue Vanderlei for the rest of his life, like they're doing Ken Shamrock.
Yep.
Ken Shamrock still is paying the UFC.
Yep, it's true.
Like,
but it's just it's just crazy,
honestly,
the argument.
At this point, I wouldn't even blame them that much.
Dude, the argument is just insane. Like, oh yeah, well, even if he did, and it's like, even if he did run out, he wasn't licensed. I'm like, whoa. Did that really just appear as text on my screen? I'm like, I just can't do it.
Why does that matter? I don't understand why that matters.
It's ridiculous. But this next bit of MMA news will trip you out even more so. So, if you've been following wrestling casually, you know that Brock Lesnar, his contract with the WWE is allegedly going to end after WrestleMania 31. So rumors have been running rampant that Brock Lesnar was going to leverage that and either make a play to go back to the UFC or use that incentive and get more money out of WWE. So Scott Coker comes out of nowhere today, and he's like, yeah, well, you know, he did an interview with Ariel Helwani, big shocker, and he was just like, oh, I guess our video dropped out. There we go. He says to him, he says to Ariel Helwani that considering how much money we got, there's no athlete that's out of our reach. If Brock Lesnar wants to fight and he moves the needle, we could make it happen. And as I read that, I'm like, that was pretty much a shot getting fired, because he was pretty much saying like, listen, we got deep pockets and we can make a run for this dude if we wanted to, which was crazy to me just because Brock Lesnar's contract's not up yet. You know, Jim Ross said that Brock Lesnar's healthy, healed, and can probably make a jump to the UFC. And as soon as I read that, I said the same thing that I've mentioned before, and you'll probably agree. What good is a jump to the UFC if you don't go to a camp that teaches you how to get hit in the face and accept it?
Yeah. Brock Lesnar not coming back to the UFC. He's not coming back. Or well, I mean, Brock Lesnar is kind of like a dude that likes easy stuff. He could go to Bellator and be their champion.
Don't get me wrong, dude. You know Bellator will get that fight between him and Bobby Lashley immediately.
Yes, that'd probably be his first fight, him and Bobby Lashley.
That's
then
it.
They'd probably make him fight Tito Ortiz or something.
Oh, my
like,
God.
I could see those things happening. The problem with all these things is he's not coming back. I like what Scott Coker said, though.
Yep.
I mean, competition is healthy for MMA.
Yes.
It is healthy. I don't think fighters are going to be knocking on the door, though, to go to Bellator.
Not yet.
For a number of reasons. But I mean, if they're throwing real money out of people, I could see them pulling some guys. I just don't think they're going to be. His logic, like if John Jones' contract comes up, even though I think a lot of fighters like that contracts aren't coming up, but if his contract comes up or Ronda Rousey's, they ain't getting them.
No, those
but like a guy like. I don't know, a guy like Robbie Lawler's contract comes up and he's not champion. Honestly, I don't think they get him either. But, I mean, there's guys that will come up and they'll be able to get them.
Ben, did you drop out?
I'm still there.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that last part. You said Robbie Lawler and then...
Oh, yeah. Like, guys of that level. Like, guys of Robbie Lawler and I'm trying to think of somebody else at his level. But... So, guys at that level, I think they'll be able to get. But, like, the champions and stuff, they're never getting to that point where they can even be negotiated for.
Well, you know what?
So, I mean, I like that Scott Coker felt the need to say it.
Yep.
Or said it.
That's exactly why I wanted to bring it up. I do feel that his acknowledgement, like, listen, we got the money, don't test us, was a good way to do it. But to kind of close things out and bring it full circle, I got to say, the money isn't the issue. It's what your identity is as a promotion. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can have all the money in the world, but if you're going to have all the theatricality and stuff that made Pride great, then you need to stick with that. Like, every show needs to have, you know, the really nice studio setup, all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. Don't get, you know, Chingo Bling or whoever rapping with these dudes. But, like, everything else, the spectacle, all that stuff that you want to add, great. But stay consistent with it. Don't reinvent the wheel every couple of months, because nobody's going to stick with you at that point.
Yeah, like I'm really hoping that the next show they do, which sounds like an excellent show, you know, Paul Daly fighting Douglas Lima, and
yep.
You know, there's some really good fights on the show. I'm really hoping they stick to theatrics, because it was refreshing to see. Now, do I think some of it is like the children rapping Mosh?
Yep.
Eminem's Mosh, which was creepy, or Stitches, all with the lip syncing. Like, that stuff was clusterfucky. but the rest of the show was interesting and fun.
Yep.
And I hope they stick with that.
That's what I'd like to see. And like I said, I like that Scott Coker acknowledged the fact that, hey, I got Viacom's checkbook. Like, I could grab whoever. And I'll be honest, Viacom knows. I mean, that's one of the things that made TNA successful when Viacom was involved, that they were like, oh, you guys want Sting? Done. You guys want this guy? Done. Oh, this other guy? Yeah, he's a good draw. Done. You know, because that helps. But, again, the only way you're going to make a credible run at the UFC is that you create a consistent product and continue to deliver highlight reel fights. Like Paul Daly, Douglas Lima is a fight that everybody's going to tune in just because it's ridiculous, you know? And while we're on the subject of Paul Daly, Josh Koscheck will not be fighting Neil Magny. He's going to be fighting Jake Ellenberger.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well,
there goes that.
That's probably going to be it for Koscheck. I mean, well, then again, Jake Ellenberger is
hit or miss.
Yeah, he should be able to knock out Koscheck. He should be able to do that.
Yep. So I figured that'd be a good way to close it out. Josh Koscheck takes on Jake Ellenberger at UFC 184, February 28th in Los Angeles. Craziness.
Yeah, he should be able to knock out Koscheck. And if he can't, then it's time for him to go.
Hey, Scott Coker said he got them deep pockets. Remember that. Just to wrap things up, how we doing with Double HND? I know that you've been getting some shows out now on a consistent basis.
Yeah, we did a show last
Wednesday, I think last Tuesday.
Yeah, we had last Tuesday. Yeah, we had a show last Tuesday. Probably won't be the one this week due to work. But we're trying to get them out more consistently. Anybody that wants to listen, you can go to HND Mixler.com/HND. Hit up our show reel and listen to the show. But yeah, we probably will have a show next week. Just this week, both our work schedules kind of made it where it's hard. But yeah, we're working on it, trying to get it good.
There you go. I mean, the improvements are there. You know, people can find you on Twitter at Blackout89. I did want to ask you this to wrap things up. You know, you guys are covering sports on Double HND. Where do you stand with the St. Louis Rams with their acknowledgement of the Ferguson situation on field?
I thought it was cool to see.
Right.
I think a lot of the people who are complaining about them doing it are missing the point. I feel like.
Well, it happened for the Olympics. Remember when they did the Black Power for the Olympics? Yeah,
the Black Power fist. I thought the police union chief or whoever he was very out of bounds with his statements. It doesn't particularly matter what the facts were. Or it doesn't particularly matter how the case played out in court.
Right.
If these guys felt like they wanted to make a statement, they should be able to make said statement. And you threatening, I think he said something like the people that are looting and rioting don't pay to go see the St. Louis Rams. You don't have any proof of that.
Yep, you don't.
So, it's a baseless statement, and I found it really pompous for him to be like they need to be punished. And I didn't feel like I felt like the team did a good job at not actually apologizing. They were like, we're sorry you're offended, but we're not sorry they did it. And I like that they did that. I like that they supported their players because they didn't have to do that.
Well, the reason I brought that up also is just because it falls in line with what we were talking about with the Reebok deal about individuality. It's like you're not reflecting on the sport poorly because you're not doing something tasteless. You're just like, hey, we're acknowledging something that's a sensitive issue and we feel like X. You know, you either agree or you don't agree, but it didn't hinder the game. It didn't do anything. People are like, oh, okay, that's where you stand. You know, like it's like I said, it's no different than the Black Power fist. It's no different than, you know, writing a person's name on your shoes or your cleats. You know what I mean? Like it's within reason that it's a freedom of expression and it's not a detriment to the game. But I wanted to bring that up because, like I said, it was a great, you know, considering how you guys really address sports on Double HND. I definitely wanted to make sure your thoughts on that were heard.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting time right now in America. So,
Yeah, well, you know what it is. Just to preface that, I will say it's an interesting time depending on where you stand. And the reason I say this is because it's an interesting time because people are quick to judge, but they don't take time to disseminate all the information. And what happens with that is it creates more conflict. Like what I was saying, what we were talking about in the monologue last week, where I said, I'm like, listen, you may not agree with what happened in Ferguson, and you have the right to express yourself, but that expression shouldn't be, burning down some poor lady's hair salon. You know what I mean? Like that's what I mean. And the same thing here in New York, with the Eric Garner situation, like, there's people protesting in Times Square and various places, and it's the right way to do it. You want to protest? That's great. That's the right way to do it. But don't burn down nobody's house. You know what I mean? Don't throw a brick through a window and steal a TV. Don't do that. Like that's all I'm saying. But that's why it was good. No, I said it was good to discuss that because you live down south too.
Yeah, that was my big point. Like, if you're going to protest, it's great that people are organizing and protesting. It's just unfortunate that a lot of the peaceful protests are not getting seen because we're focusing on people looting and rioting, and it's taken away, I think, of the message. So
there you go. So yeah, well, it's going to be something that I'm sure you'll touch on Double HND, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it in passing. Like I said, people can find you on Twitter at Blackout89. If you want to check out Ben's Double HND show, they talk sports, they talk geek culture, they definitely talk hip hop. Definitely a lot of great stuff there. If you're a old school hip hop fan or even a new generation hip hop fan, check them out, mixlr.com/double H. That's 2 H's and D. Anything else you want to add?
Yep. Nope, that's it.
All right, buddy. I appreciate you calling in as always.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, brother. See ya. All right, that was our very own Ben. Let's get ready to switch gears and jump into some wrestling for this week. Like I said, wrestling this week, very, very hot topic, much like MMA with the Reebok deal. Before I hit the drop for wrestling, I do got to say the same thing. If you want to participate in any of our segments, 347-324-3541 is our call-in number. If you want to participate via the chat, you can go to mtrlive.com or gfqlive.tv. Just throw your name in there, jump in the chat, and join the conversation. As always, we will read your commentary on air to get the ball rolling. So again, 347-324-3541, 347-324-3541 if you want to call in and participate, or you can go to the show chat at mtrlive.com or gfqlive.tv. Let's get that ball rolling and jump into some wrestling. Booker T, take it away.
We want the gold, sucker! Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, nigga!
As always, My Take Radio's wrestling segment is brought to you by WWEshop.com. Use our promo code WWESAVE10 to save $10 on orders over $70 or more. We also have other specials which you can find on on MyTakeRadio.com and RageWorks.net. If you want free shipping or you want to save money on any of your holiday orders, please make sure to check out the banners on the sites. Click them, helps us, and of course allows you to get some deals on all your favorite WWE merch. Again, sponsor for our wrestling segment is WWEshop.com. All right, so let's get into the Raw side of things first before we jump into the other wrestling news. This past Monday was Cyber Monday, and as such, they brought back the anonymous Raw general manager. Now, the anonymous Raw general manager is a love-hate thing for me personally, because if you're going to do it with a payoff of letting us know who the manager was, that's great. But considering how, how not well received his tenure was, it was something that obviously with the Cyber Monday theme, it was apropos, but utilizing it beyond that would definitely be a recipe for disaster because, like I said, you know, all it did was really just give Michael Cole more screen time. And besides the fact that it was a big fuck up that when they did go to the laptop, basically it was Michael Cole just reading text on a screen. The least you could have done was have some sort of IM window, whether it was a Skype window or a Messenger window, whatever the case may be, and just have the stuff being messaged to you to make it fall in line with the anonymous GM alert. And the reason I say this is because it's little things like that that people do notice. And as soon as the camera went, you know, around the screen and showed the screen on the laptop, and I saw that, I said, man, it's little things like that that they really should tighten up and try to just avoid happening because people notice things like that and it really doesn't do the gimmick any favors. In any event, the anonymous Raw general manager got the ball rolling with Michael Cole, which of course brought out John Cena, who proceeded to pretty much derail the entire I don't even want to say the entire GM segment, but it really just made the GM a non-factor. In addition to that, you know, it brought out Seth Rollins, which of course led to a lengthy exchange between Rollins and Cena, but also validated that Seth Rollins is improving consistently on the mic. Of course, this led to Rollins and J&J Security attacking John Cena, which of course led to the Survivor Series teammates of each respective guy coming out and getting involved. So, with that said, I want to get into the matches, and I've just been informed that John Blade is on the line, so let me bring him in as well. John Blade.
Hey, what's going on?
Welcome to the party.
How's it going?
So, where do you stand with the anonymous GM? Helpful or hindrance?
I thought it was really, like you said, for the day being Cyber Monday, it kind of made sense.
Right.
But the fact that they brought back the anonymous GM after you already revealed who the anonymous GM was, just kind of felt stupid, for lack of a better word.
Well,
I'd say it was a hindrance because it kind of felt like a slap in the face. I took it personally. Like, oh, you're bringing back the anonymous GM who isn't so anonymous.
Well, for those unfamiliar with the angle, please inform everyone who the anonymous GM was, or led, or who we more led to believe.
Fucking Hornswoggle. After months of that annoying ringtone going off with Michael Cole, it turned out the genius behind all of it was Hornswoggle.
There you have it.
Go,
so,
folks.
well,
Hornswoggle is your anonymous GM.
There you go. Now, here's the thing that bothered me. Like I said, just the panning around and just pretty much seeing a text document on the screen. I'm like, damn. You can't even get like IM and just have Vince fucking messaging you the shit. Even if it's Vince messaging you what's on the text document on AIM or whatever it was, like, fuck, at least do that so it looks legit. It's like, yo, I didn't know that the Word document got auto-updated. Like, it just made no sense to me. I'm like, yo, are you guys kidding me with that shit?
I guess they also knew how stupid the whole angle was. They put minimal effort into it. It's like, it's Cyber Monday, put out the anonymous GM, let's get this over with.
Well, besides the fact that he pretty much got cock-blocked, John Cena was like, yeah, whatever, shut up.
By Cena?
It's like, yeah, we're just going to close that out. Nothing. Now, the tag team turmoil...
The day.
Yeah, I mean, John Cena was just like, yeah, we're not having this shit. But the opening match, the tag team turmoil match, I have issues with this. First of all, the New Day was supposed to debut on Raw, but instead they debuted them on SmackDown, which nobody pretty much watches on Fridays. And so they
debuted on Raw when you get down to it.
Yeah. And not only do they debut on Raw in a multi-tag team match, but they lose. Yeah, not only that, but Adam Rose and the Bunny are a tag team legitimately. And when did Tyson Kidd and Cesaro become boys to do tag team matches? Like, Like, I understand.
Those are all very good questions.
Like, and this was some of the stuff I wrote in the 3Rs column, which saw its return this week. And it was those things. Like, I understand that your tag team division was weak, but fuck, you know, you mean to tell me that you don't have guys that you could pair together and fucking make them wear matching ring gear for a couple of weeks? You're joking, right? Seriously.
I guess not, but I feel like they kind of just threw this together for the New Day, but that wouldn't make sense considering having them lose.
Right.
But it's like for like a debut, it wouldn't make sense. Like, all right, you want to do something interesting with them since it's their first time, but then you do that and then you have them lose. It's just kind of counterproductive.
It really was, and you know, I mean, I like the tag team finisher. I really would like to see the New Day adopt the Freebirds rule. You know, where they can any members can do it. You know, same thing like NWO style. And I think that would work, but I just feel that, first of all, I don't understand why Xavier Woods has a priest scarf on his ring gear when he comes out, because last time I checked, he wasn't any sort of a pastor of any kind, unless that college degree he had made him a pastor magically. That's number one. Number two, Big E shouldn't be worried about wearing a jacket. He should be worried about wearing longer trunks. And Kofi Kingston is just like, my gear matches with everybody else. Happy to be here. Like you know, the happy-go-lucky thing. Like when the stable was coming together and they cut that promo of, listen, you know, pretty much that veiled, they don't push us because we're black promo. I was like, oh shit, we're gonna get something. We're going to get something unique. That you don't have to make them heels, but you don't got to make them faces either. You just have to make them aware. You know, like it should there should be nothing wrong with Big E saying, you know, I've beaten some of the best in this company and I never got any opportunities. You know, is it because I didn't fit the stereotypical mold? Is it because I didn't have a colorful t-shirt and a matching hat? Like, you don't even got to say it's a black thing or a white thing. It's a kick in your ass thing.
And it kind of seemed when they first did the promo, it kind of seemed like they were going around. Then it just turns around. It kind of reminds me of not to this extreme, but Brodus Clay and then the Funkasaurus.
Yep.
So yeah, we got this big monster coming. It's gonna be Brodus Clay, and then he comes out the Funkadactyls and everything. It's like, oh, so this is what we've been waiting for. If you don't take all that into, if you don't think about it, when they debuted on Monday, it actually seemed like they were having fun.
Yep.
So I think that's what got me most interested. They're having a good time and they're wrestling, but they lost. But it seemed like they were having a good time. But you bring up that they made it seem like it was going to be more of a serious stable.
Yep.
So I have mixed feelings about it. I feel it's too early to give an opinion on them, considering they've only been around for a week.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion on them is, you need to not just make them, happy-go-lucky, shucking and jiving dudes. Like we don't need that. I don't need wrestling gospel singers. Don't need it. I don't need Jesse Jackson promos and the whole. Don't need that shit. I don't need it. I don't need R-Truth with spray-painted pants from 1997. Don't need that shit. Don't.
Oh yeah, R-Truth was on TV this week.
Exactly. Don't need that shit. And then it was like, as soon as the match started progressing, I said the Usos are just going to win this. And the fact that they won so that they can use Jimmy Uso's relationship with Naomi for angle advancement, again, total divas bullshit. The only high point was the Miz getting the shit slapped out of him. Like, he slapped the Holy Ghost out of him. It was good, you know. I liked it. That was good, but I just felt that utilizing Naomi, again, talented diva who can go pretty far for angle advancement purposes, was a waste.
Yeah.
And
I feel like being on Total Divas in general is just kind of like a bad thing for Divas Division.
Yep.
Like if you're on that show, you're pretty much screwed. You're not going to have anything good going for you.
Nope, pretty much. And then, you know, all of a sudden the revision is history. All of a sudden, Eric Rowan went from extra in Deliverance to magical genius. Like, huh? Like, oh yeah, you know, your IQ is 143 and you're an expert winemaker. What? This is a motherfucker who wore a sheet mask and moved around like Michael Myers. What? Are you kidding me? Like, I understand you're trying to repackage him, but don't make it so stupid.
I always felt Eric Rowan was going to be like the weak one of the once they split up out of like Bray and then Luke and then Eric Rowan was going to be like the bottom of the barrel. It's just like, we'll make it up as we go along with Eric Rowan.
It's like, at this point, you should just be in a tag team with fucking Sheamus. That's it.
The Gingers.
Dude, the Reds. Especially because there's a rumor, and I noticed that they addressed it on Raw. WWE filed a trademark for Big Red, which, by the way, he was called that on television. So, unless this motherfucker's coming dressed up like chewing gum, no. The Undertaker was called Big Red when he was running Booger Red by fucking Jim Ross when he was in the real hardcore biker gimmick. And no one had any idea why that was. It was stupid.
Eric Rowan. I don't see him going too far.
Poor Eric Rowan. I just see him being
just like mid-card for life.
Yeah, mid-card. He's Ginger Great Khali right now. Whenever somebody has a mystery opponent, it's going to be Eric Rowan. He's going to be like New Kane.
What's his like? They're having a stairs match at TLC?
Yes, a stairs match. It's like, all I said was...
I don't understand the concept of a stairs match.
I said, please, dear God, let the stairs be hanging from a pole. Just a giant pole with stairs on a hook. Please let that be the case.
They need to do something stupid, like have them like it's a race up to like the third floor of a flight of stairs.
It's just terrible. I just hope that they have all the stairs there. I just hope that all the stairs are on the entrance ramp. And they just start hitting each other with fucking chairs. I just can't, dude. I can't. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's pretty much as legitimate as it gets, that they just don't give a fuck about any pay-per-view that's not one of the big four. We're going to have a stairs match because that's hardcore. Tables, ladders, and chairs. That means next year it's going to be TLCS. That's what that shit's going to be.
Oh, the shit already started that before with all the stairs that they used.
Yep, there you go.
Bring tables, bring ladders, bring stairs.
Well, you know what's funny? You know, between that and then the funny thing, and I was telling my wife about this, about the WWE app. Whenever they do anything relating to the app, they pretty much reference or try to drop as many hints as possible of who they want you to vote for. Like last week, it was like, hey, you guys don't want to see J&J Security out there? That would be great if those guys got an opportunity.
They got the entire time since they started wrestling.
Yep, it's like the thing with the Divas match. It's like, yeah, you know, they had Naomi on TV. She got the card from The Miz. Jimmy Uso slapped The Miz, and then it's like Naomi's gonna be in a match with blah 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 blah, and I'm like, you guys just want people to vote for Naomi.
I felt like it's always been like that. Like they'll give you three options. Two options are completely bullshit. It's like no one wants to see that. And then, all right, this is the match we all know you are mildly interested in, so we're going to reinforce this throughout the entire show, just to give you guys a false sense of power.
Yep, because don't get me wrong, I voted. I was like, fuck it, let's get Natalya on TV for a little bit. So I voted for. Slick goes, the app votes are rigged. I was not even able to vote. It was just you know what it is? It's the underlying psychology. Like, we're gonna show you who we want you to vote for. It's like, here's these two hamburgers. One doesn't have a bun and one does. Doesn't that bun look tasty? Shit, I'm gonna vote for the one with the bun. Like, that's how it is. It's like, are you gonna vote for Alicia Fox, who's garbage, or Natalya, who's pretty much getting jobbed out every week? So yeah, let's just go with Naomi.
Like, I remember they did it once, and like they used, I think it may have been the app, and then all the voting, and then they got the wrong vote.
Yep.
I think it was like the one with Evan Bourne and Sin Cara or something like that.
They had to take the L on that one.
Yeah, so it's just like, all right, no more voting, no more. Nope.
Can you explain to me why Fandango looks like Don Flamenco from Punch-Out? Like, who told that motherfucker it was a good idea to become Hispanic? Or, you know, it's like did him and the Matadors decide, yo, we're just gonna do this and it's gonna work? And on top of that, it's like, why does Rosa look like one of the zombies from The Walking Dead? Like, when does she stop eating and become a corpse? Like, yo, shouldn't Rick Grimes be shooting you? Like, I'm like, yo, what happened?
For an excellent celebrity guest host.
Dude, I was like, yo, what happened to you? Like, I saw her, you know, once in a while on Total Divas. It's like, all right, you know, they're trying to get her back on TV. And it's like, now she looks like a coat rack with a flower on it.
The whole Fandango thing is weird, because like, when they first did it, I think, during Survivor Series, I'm like, all right, this isn't bad. And then it's like, all right, come in, leg drop, and have Rosa dance around you. And it's just like, what?
Besides the fact that his whole match with Jack Swagger was done for the sake of getting Rusev over, which I said to myself, oh, that's great. We're just going to job out Jack Swagger again. Luckily, they allowed him to, you know, not get his ass kicked in Oklahoma, where he's from.
Yeah. It's just like it's like, I feel like I've seen this all before, and that's because I have. Like, Jack Swagger versus Rusev. There's only so many American wrestlers that you can have fight Rusev before everyone else. Like, man, we got Jack Swagger. Who else do we got? We got Mark Henry, but he's black. Yeah, but he represents America. Why? Because. All right.
Fuck it, dude. Just put Hogan in the Mr. America mask and send him out. Send him right out.
They should have picked up Kurt Angle.
They should have picked up Kurt Angle. Even if Kurt Angle became Jack Swagger's manager. Fuck it, I'll take it.
All right, you stole my entire moveset, but I got your back, man.
There you go. I got you, man. Dude, fucking bring back Shelton Benjamin for a match.
I'd be pretty badass, actually.
Yep, like Rusev issues an open challenge.
Bring back Hitman Charlie Haas.
Dude, Rusev issues an open challenge, and Team Angle, the world's greatest tag team, comes out and whoops his ass, dude. I'd be hyped, dude. I would be hyped.
I felt like Rusev had like a lot of potential, and then this is like there's not too many guys you can put against him. Like, John Cena is about the only guy you got left, and he's not going to be anywhere near Cena.
Not yet. It's either going to be John Cena or Ryback.
Yeah, and it's yeah.
I'd love.
He had the potential, but I'm losing faith.
You're losing faith. Losing faith. Don't get me wrong, dude. When he beat up Concessions Kane last week, I was like, yo, that shit's hilarious. The big guy is hungry. hey, the Big Red Monster. How about some Big Red ketchup? You forgot your nuts. Like, I'm like, all right, this works. It's just weird. And then, you know, the Damian Sandow match with Fernando, I'm like, oh, wow, Damian Sandow wins with the figure 4. I'm sure Ric Flair is happy because The Miz hasn't won a match with it. We know where that's going. That's leading to the inevitable Sandow face turn. Like, you could see that shit a mile away.
Yeah. They didn't like hide that at all. It's like, it's gonna be a minute before Miz is just gonna flip out on them, and it'll be great, but it's all obvious.
Yeah, but at that point, let's be realistic. What are you gonna do with Damian Sandow once you turn him? Like, you better, you know, like he's one of those guys that without his genius gimmick, like, now that he's pretty much the mimic, you know, like Big Show dressing up as all those old wrestlers back in the day, it's like, once you take that away from him and The Miz, what are you going to do with him? Are you going to repackage him at that point?
It's kind of like, it was the same thing after they broke him up with, after they broke up him and Cody. It's just like, all right, Cody's going off in his own thing.
Yep.
And Sandow's stuck in purgatory.
Yep, pretty much.
So, I hope maybe they'll be able to drag out the Miz and Damian Sandow thing for a while, but I don't see like a worthwhile feud coming out of that.
Absolutely not. I feel that the feud will be done in like one pay-per-view.
But the thing about Sandow is they'll probably give him something shit, but he'll make the best out of it.
That's pretty much it. Like you were mentioning earlier, we did have an R-Truth sighting as he did the job for Bray Wyatt. Nice work with Bray Wyatt doing the Exorcist walk. Definitely cool to see him add that as a constant. But the bigger thing was Dean Ambrose doing some furniture remodeling with the rocking chair and just being a complete psychopath about it. I like where it's going.
The rocking chair was my favorite.
I like what they're doing with Dean Ambrose, but you know what the problem is? That when this feud comes to a close at the pay-per-view, it's like you don't want either guy to lose.
Yeah.
Like you don't
because this feud with Dean Ambrose is probably like the best out of Bray Wyatt I've seen in a while. Just because Dean Ambrose is like what they're doing. Dean Ambrose is bringing out something in Bray Wyatt that we've never seen before. So this is like his today. I think this is his best feud.
I mean, they got to do something because it's like once that feud is over, either Dean Ambrose is gonna be stuck in mid-card hell, or Bray Wyatt's just gonna be wasted potential at this point. Because think about it, either guy, where they go after this feud, unless it's something monumental, they're gonna be stuck.
Yeah, I was hoping at the beginning of the feud this would be a longer drawn out feud, like maybe even till I'd take at least even to Rumble for another match. But because it doesn't seem it feels like this is either the end or near the end of the feud already.
Right.
And I'm bummed because I wanted so much from it.
I wanted a deeper feud, but I also wanted it revolving around Bray Wyatt and the other two guys. Like breaking up the Wyatt family has honestly, in my opinion, even though Luke Harper's a great worker by himself, has done more harm than good because you never got to accomplish more with the Wyatt family. Like the three of them never got to hold titles at the same time. You know what I mean? You never had them do crazy shit backstage or tie somebody up and throw them in a ditch, you know? Like they never did anything more noteworthy than what they did in the beginning.
And I felt like once they broke up, like we'd get like a decent Harper and Rowan feud. Like I felt like that was the best that could come out of it. But when they broke up, I had really mixed feelings about it. It's just like oh man, it's a good opportunity, but I felt breaking them up, it felt too soon. Even though as long as they've been together, it still felt too soon.
I agree. I did want to point out that Mick Foley, I guess, is officially WWE Santa Claus. I guess that's pretty much his new job. Not the GM.
I always thought that was his thing for like life. It's just like now he just has a title.
Yep, he's just Santa. He's just jolly old Saint Mick now, and he's got his daughter out there with him. You know.
Yeah. I actually watched. He has a documentary on Netflix about like Santa Claus, like people who dress up as Santa Claus. It actually wasn't that bad.
Well, you know what's funny about Mick Foley? Mick Foley's incredibly talented, incredibly popular with the fans, but I've always felt that after he kind of retired, WWE never figured out the right thing to do with him. Like, he was just always there. And I think that's one of the reasons why he kind of said, listen, I don't want to be the GM, because he was like, you know, great. Yeah, like he didn't feel that he had anything to contribute, which is odd because you have a guy who's good on the mic and is a serviceable worker, and to think that there's nothing you can do with him other than dress him up as Santa is odd to me. You know, like he should be a guest GM 1 week.
I mean, I guess you also have to consider, like, I'm sure they want him. They probably asked him to do some stuff that he probably just doesn't want to. You also have to take into consideration what he wants to do. So it's not going to make him do anything he doesn't want to. Maybe he just wants to, go out, do his comedy tour stick, right on Twitter. He's probably enjoying life, just not being full-time part of the wrestling thing.
You know what would have been cool if they would have used Mick Foley and he would have came out after that Rollins-Ambrose feud and he would have taken Ambrose under his wing, and we would have got the three faces of Foley, where it would have been like Cactus Jack coming out with Dean Ambrose 1 week, and Dude Love another week, and then Mankind another week, and then Ambrose would have just started learning all that shit. Like he would have used the Mandible Claw as a finisher 1 week, and the Cactus Jack DDT as another.
See, that'd be awesome, but that would be awesome, but I don't think it fits well with Dean's character, because like when Mick Foley came out like the week before they had the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, Dean went on this huge rant about how he's been there, he's done that. He respects Foley, but he doesn't need him, and I think it's absolutely true. It's one of the best things about Dean Ambrose is his unpredictability. Like, he'll just show up randomly. So I think him being alone is better for him.
Well, I always looked at it as a payoff with a decent match with Foley if he would have wanted to do it. I think Foley would have put him over.
Absolutely. That'd be a fantastic match.
Because think about it. Remember when Foley put over Edge and he speared him through the flaming table?
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and Foley was definitely a lot older when that happened. Hell, when he was feuding with Randy Orton and Randy Orton spit in his face, I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, that sick match where the RKO into the thumbtack.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
They could have done something with that, and it probably wouldn't have been bad.
Nope.
Having Mick Foley do something with Dean, not at all.
I would have loved that.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it's funny. We got a Paul Heyman sighting because when Brock Lesnar doesn't have a date on his contract, you can always count on good old Paul Lee to come and stir shit up. And I like the promo again. Paul Heyman, God tier on the mic, but again, no champion, no peace.
This is I feel like they have to bring back Brock. I mean, they don't have they have to bring in Paul every now and then so people can remember. It's like, oh yeah, Brock Lesnar is still relevant. Like, they have to keep him relevant so he's not on TV. So it's like, oh, Cena's out there. Let's put Paul up there just to remind people that Cena's still the number one contender.
I really hope
they don't have Lesnar.
It's true. I really hope that if Cena beats Rollins, which I really don't want him to do, that Brock Lesnar just comes out and kills him.
Kills him dead. German suplex.
Yep, German suplex him through the announce table.
Yeah.
Because at this point, because I thought about it and I said, logically, if Rollins wins, he's already kind of the number one contender with the briefcase, don't you think? Like, I was listening to the logic, so John Cena and Rollins and the number one contendership is on the line. And I'm like, for who? For John Cena? Sure. But what's it for Rollins? Unless they fucking try and play it off like the case and the shot are on the line.
That would be something, but I feel you can't have Seth Rollins be the number one contender because you've had Brock Lesnar decimate Cena.
Yep.
So it's like, you really think Seth Rollins is going to face Brock Lesnar one-on-one? No, you're out of your mind.
Yep. And not only that,
I don't think.
No, go ahead.
No, that's all.
What I was going to say is that if Seth Rollins, if they really believed in Seth Rollins and they let him beat Brock Lesnar, it would be some shit where he hits him with the case and then there's like a curb stomp off the top rope or some shit. Like, it's going to be some next level shit.
And it would having Seth beat Brock would be I can't really see it because like what would that lead into? Like a feud where you can't, like, if Seth beats Brock Lesnar isn't going to take that line down. So that means we would see more Brock.
Yep.
So I guess we'd have Cena, Seth, and Brock all in the number one contendership.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
It'd be an interesting dynamic.
It would be an interesting
just have him straight up beat it for a belt.
Well, that and also the fact that it would at least show that they really are invested in Rollins as a main eventer.
Yeah, he's the future. He really is.
Like it would show that they are invested, but all signs point to Brock pretty much having the belt or retaining the belt all the way to WrestleMania to allegedly drop it to Roman Reigns. Which, again, it's going to take a lot of fire to get Roman Reigns that high up to where the crowd is unanimously enamored by this guy. Like, I watch when his reactions, and I say to myself, you can't create a Daniel Bryan phenomenon out of Roman Reigns. It is impossible.
And I I feel that the way they seem to have it going, it's like when Reigns comes back, his first guy he's going to be going for
Is Rollins.
So I guess they'd have to do a thing where maybe Seth, they could have the match for the briefcase and have Roman Reigns take it from him. The most logical thing for me would be Roman Reigns winning at Mania, and then Seth
Rollins
passing in.
That would be amazing.
Like you said, you can't. It'd be hard to get Roman Reigns up in the top spot in just 3 months.
In 3 months, and not only that, but he has to be on all cylinders. Like, they got him taking all these acting classes and shit. Like, that guy has to come back and just be unstoppable for 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, he has to go in the Rumble, eliminate like 14 guys. He has to go into Hell in the Cell and you know, spear somebody through the pod. Yeah, spear somebody through the pod, etc., etc., etc. Like, it has to be just he has to defeat. Here's the kicker. He's got to defeat John Cena clean before facing Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
Got to be clean.
So he has to be Cena to get to Brock Lesnar. He has to beat him.
He has to be him.
He has to win everything.
And you know, it's funny because they closed out Raw with the 6-man tag match, and the tag match was good, but again, the inevitable, you know, everybody using all their gimmicks, the faces are triumphant, blah, blah, blah. Not bad, but definitely not great. Again, Raw felt very paint by numbers, and the way that they're pushing it, I said to myself, if this is what you want people to sign up for the network for to see on pay-per-view, you're going to need a lot more work.
Stairs. That is all to say.
Stairs on a pole. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about CM Punk's podcast interview with Colt Cabana, which, you know, like a little pebble was dropped in a pond on Thanksgiving weekend, and the ripples turned into waves, and the wrestling world was turned on its fucking head. Now, before I get into the intricacies of the interview, where do you stand as a somebody who you know supported CM Punk at one time or another?
I think I still, after listening to the interview, because when he first left, I was back and forth. It's like, he walked out on us, but he doesn't really owe us anything. I'm basing my opinion off the idea that everything he said is true.
Okay.
I'm full Punk support, full CM Punk support. I think he was justified in leaving.
Okay, but here's the thing, and I definitely agree that if it's true, it's justified, but I'm also a believer that CM Punk has a contract and he is an employee. And as such, this is your contract, this is what you got. If you don't like what's going on, then tell him to cut you from your contract and let you go. Don't just decide today's Tuesday and I'm leaving. You get what I'm saying? Like, he could have said, listen, I want out, write me off TV. I don't give a fuck how you do it. I could get powerbombed through a tape, whatever the case. Write me the fuck off and let me go. And therein is where I felt that I was a little annoyed as a fan, but I also understood as an employee because I have a commitment to my job. I have a commitment to report to work every day, 5 days a week, and that's it. And if I don't like my job, then I quit. And that's fine, but he didn't really quit. He walked out.
Okay, see, I feel what you're saying, but I feel like the way it seems to me is it's just like you know, you didn't go into it, but it's like all like the health issues he was dealing with. He was like in a lot of pain. He basically left due to his health. Like he said himself, the main reason he left was because of his health. So what happened with he leaves and they say, okay, you're suspended, and then they fire him. They fired him. He didn't quit.
Right.
They fired him because I feel all the stuff that he was on, no person should have to work under the conditions he was in.
Right.
Like, there was stuff wrong with him he didn't even know.
Right.
And it's just, as a person who works any day-to-day job, if you're feeling immense pain, you're not going to show up to work.
Right. And that's
I feel
fine.
He's still justified, even though he's in sports entertainment.
No, and I understand that, but what I'm saying is, per his contract and per his job, he had a certain job to do. And if he didn't feel that the company was doing right by him, you know, it's just strange that listen, I just feel that if he would have handled it differently, it would have worked out where it's like what Jim Ross said. If you have somebody mediating it, things would have ran a little more, it would have ran better. But I also think that if his injuries and his health issues are legitimate, which, you know, the way WWE kind of released the medical update with regards to his treatment, I do feel that things would have gone differently. I also noticed that CM Punk's logic is more anger at Triple H than Vince McMahon. Like, everything about that interview kind of pointed at Triple H being more so the bad guy than Vince McMahon. And it's weird because he said, you know, he never quit. He was fired. He left the WWE in January. A few weeks after that, Vince McMahon informed him via text that he was suspended for 2 months. After the suspension ended, he said WWE never contacted him, and Punk reached out for the royalties that he felt were owed him. He said WWE gave him the runaround, then sent him termination papers, which he said he got on his wedding day. For the reason for termination was breach, not for his hiatus. At which point he said WWE had taken things too fucking far.
As far as like the whole wedding date thing?
Yep.
Okay.
The way I figure it is, if that's correct, you know, he said that, you know, he had the broken knee, the broken ribs, he had the concussion, he had the injured knees, definitely stuff that appears, you know, it's all legitimate stuff. And in that respect, I do feel WWE dropped the ball. And this is something you and I and Quark, we've all talked about. And that's that, you know, the scheduling for these guys definitely needs to be altered to avoid burnout and situations like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's.
It's like,
go ahead.
Like after I listened to the interview a couple times, I went back and I watched the Rumble match he was in, and it's like you can tell, like, watch every movement he makes, it seems like it's in pain. And there's moments where he's like sitting out talking to the refs because he's hurting everywhere. Like moves he does, taking hits, like the shot, like the kick, not the kick, the hit he took from Kofi. He was out for like the next 5 minutes. So it's like I feel everything he's saying was pretty honest just off that match alone, the last match he was in.
Right, and that's one of the things, like, you know, when he was talking about the stuff with Ryback and the stuff with the staph infection, I said to myself, you know, the staph infection was huge, especially going to an independent physician and the independent physician saying, yo, you should be dead. Like, if that's documented and that's legitimate, you know, that's documented and there's proof of that, it's like, that's a huge misstep for the WWE. Like, yo, you're really letting these dudes just, you know, make these diagnoses. You're letting essentially Dr. Nick from The Simpsons run your medical back there. Like, that's the kind of stuff that really jumps out. You know, that's the thing that jumps out to me. That, you know, for him to say, listen, there's this lump and it turned purple, and the doctors are like, yeah, that's kind of got to come out. You know, it's like when he said that, and I was like, wow, that's pretty scary. It's like if there's documentation of that, obviously, which I'm sure there is, it's like that's not good for the company. And it's like if I were the WWE, I'd be more concerned about this part of the interview than why he left. Because guys leave due to burnout and stuff. I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
You know, Stone Cold Steve Austin's situation
is... They did the same thing. Did the exact same thing. Just walked out one day.
You know, it's crazy because the way I see it, it's CM Punk from an injury standpoint. And again, I'm stripping away beef with Triple H management, but I just want to talk about the medical side of things. From the medical perspective, if the care that he received as an active superstar was as he described, then there's a huge, huge issue with WWE and the safety of their superstars. For every guy whose rehab you pay for, and for every guy whose career you try to save, if you're letting guys like CM Punk, the guys who are, you know, busting their asses week in and week out, you know, if you're letting them be, you know, treated in such a way, then there's a bigger problem than just Triple H dropping the ball on his run. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
Vince,
I felt...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I felt like the medical, like just the medical thing alone, was reason enough for him to be like, yeah, like, and no person should have to go through that.
And that's where I agree. That's where I agree.
That was like the biggest, like, all the politics, all the beef he had with the man's and everything. That's normal stuff, but the health stuff, that's ridiculous.
You know, and then...
I thought that was, like, the biggest part of the entire interview.
And that's what I was, you know, when I heard the interview, I'm like, there's two sides to every story. His side, WWE's side, and the truth. And between both sides, there's definite truth there. You know, and looking at it, and I've said this before, you could do, you know, a staggered roster where certain guys are on reserve. Maybe you take a month and you do best of shows for a month and give these guys a break. You mean to tell me you can't do a best of Raw and SmackDown for the month of December and let these guys rest and then start fresh in the new year?
Hire a competent medical staff.
Thank you. You know, don't hire Dr. Nick. Oh, that's okay. You're bleeding from your head?
Right.
Put the Band-Aid on. Go back out there. Like, yo, it's crazy.
Ridiculous.
And then, you know, like what he was saying about Vince being an out-of-touch old man, I agree with that. And the fact that people were telling him he wasn't a draw, I agree with that because Paul Heyman said it himself. He's like, yo, you know how many times people said, yo, this dude is nothing? And Paul Heyman's like, yo, this is the fucking guy. This is the guy. You know, the thing about him saying, saying that, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was saying the thing where he was saying that Vince said MMA was barbaric and then Triple H walking Floyd Mayweather out to the ring. I said to myself, that was Vince using that as an excuse, but Vince views the UFC as competition. He'll never admit it, but that's what it is because the demographic is the same. You know?
It's like he's not gonna flat out tell you no, you can't go because fuck you, it's the UFC.
And that's the kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's like you dispute. It's like there's two sides, but knowing the company and just how the way things work is, you know, a lot of what he said had to be true because that's the way. It's just like if you listen, not just the Punk, the way like former superstars talk, and you know Vince is kind of an asshole.
Right.
It says I feel a majority of what he's talking about is he's being honest. It's like he has no reason to lie.
And the thing that gets me is that, you know, when they were talking about the whole independent contractor card, and then he was talking about, you know, getting jobbed out of 12 rounds too, and, you know, saying that Triple H thinks he's a piece of shit. None of this surprises me because ever since CM Punk has come into that company, he's never been viewed as a top guy. Never. The only reason he got to where he got was because they realized that, hey, we have something here. It's the same thing as Daniel Bryan. Do you think that if people wouldn't have been chanting yes and going crazy every time he came out, he would have got to the position he got? Hell.
They had to work. They had to
Exactly.
work. That's all it is.
And the crazy thing is the Daniel Bryan scenario, I almost feel like he was gift wrapped that scenario because CM Punk was supposed to be the guy in that scenario.
I can say and say with Punk gone, they have to fill the spot. So Daniel Bryan was the next best thing.
You know, and then the whole thing about, you know, him saying Ryback was a steroid guy and then Ryback getting pissed off and putting all that stuff out there. It's the way I see it is CM Punk benefited from the business and the business benefited from him. But at the end of the day, that's just not his thing. And Chris Jericho, that happened to Chris Jericho too. He lost, you know, losing your smile, losing your passion for the business. But in Punk's case, it was one part losing your passion for the business and one part them driving you out of the business.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
And trying to kill you.
Yeah, and trying to kill you because WWE issued a response to what CM Punk said in the interview. And he said, Yahoo Sports, you know, they posted an article about it. And, you know, they said WWE takes the health and wellness of its talent very seriously and has a comprehensive talent wellness program that is led by one of the most well-respected physicians in the country, Dr. Joseph Maroon. Now, you notice, and in that statement I just read, they acknowledged Joseph Maroon, not Chris Amann.
Nope.
Who's the senior ringside physician. So, you know, why would they do that? And that goes back to what you were saying. There's probably a significant amount of truth in what he said.
Yeah.
Now,
like they're covering their bases. Like, oh yeah, we fucked up.
Yep.
But we trust me. It's like we have one bad seed, but overall we're good. It's like, you know, shit happens more or less.
Well, the beauty of that interview, like I said, was that CM Punk, you know, got the opportunity to voice his opinions. The thing that gets me is that he, you know, guys, a lot of people are like, yeah, but you know, why did he go on Colt Cabana's show? Why didn't he go on Stone Cold's show? Why didn't he go here? Why did he go there? Why did it take so long? Why did he put his guy over? And I have one answer for that. CM Punk is responsible for CM Punk. Him going on Stone Cold's podcast or Jericho's podcast or whoever's podcast, it's only going to serve to fuel the WWE. Because even if he would have gone on Stone Cold's podcast, it would have got attention to the company. By him going on The Art of Wrestling, whether you love Colt Cabana or you hate him, he gave CM Punk a platform where he wasn't going to be judged. He was going to say what he was going to say. And even though Colt Cabana didn't ask quote-unquote hard-hitting questions, that wasn't his job. His job was, I'm going to give my friend the opportunity to say how he feels. Can't fault the guy for that. It's no different than you wanting to talk about something and me saying, yo, come on air, I'm going to let you rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's weird that people were...
just looking out for a ball. It wasn't much of an interview. It was just, he gave Punk a chance to vent.
Exactly. Because there was no question and answer. It was like, all right, go ahead, bro. Have at it.
What happened?
Exactly. And you know, I'm sure there'll be a part 2, and I'm sure that CM Punk is at some point going to sit down and really dig deep. And I tell you this much, if WWE were smart, they'd just leave the guy alone. You know what I mean? Don't try and clown him on TV, just leave it alone. Because the medical thing alone...
Leave his wife alone.
Yep, leave his wife alone, let her do what she's got to do. You know, don't try to exact revenge on AJ for the actions of CM Punk. Just let it play out the way it's got to play out.
And see, I kind of feel that that's AJ. That's gonna. She already has to deal with the CM Punk chance already whenever she's out there wrestling.
Yep.
But I feel now if she doesn't get over or she loses the match or they make her drop the belt after if she gets it back and has to drop it again, it's just like it's gonna be stupid people say, they're only doing this because of what Punk said and blah 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 blah. I kind of feel for her, it's just gonna be unwanted. It's like shit she has to deal with now, even if it's not directly from the company.
And the way I see it is, and I wanna switch gears and jump into the Austin McMahon interview, because the way I see it is AJ's situation should be respected as independent of CM Punk. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's very easy for them to exact revenge on her, putting her in shitty gimmicks or in shitty matches or whatever. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that one should not affect the other. If she comes to work and she's the good soldier and she does what she's got to do, just let it play out. Leave the guy alone.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to switch gears because, Vince McMahon, of course, jumped on Stone Cold's podcast, which obviously, one was to get more people on the network. Two was because it would give Stone Cold's podcast mainstream exposure. But three, I did not expect Stone Cold to come out there and really ask the legit questions. And the fact that
questions being the CM Punk question.
Well, that was one of them, but when he was asking about Vince's high expectations and if Vince McMahon is in tune with the audience, Vince, he said, he goes that they do hit and miss on some guys, and he actually put over guys by name like Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose. He talked about the 6-man tag match. I like that. That Vince was like, yo, what's up with Cesaro? Why can't the guy get some love?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff. And it was. Go ahead.
I felt Vince. I thought the interview was great. First of all, I felt Vince really made some really good points as to why, why Cesaro isn't getting the push, because he says he doesn't have the complete package, doesn't have the mic skills, which to a degree I can understand because his mic skills aren't that great.
Right.
So it's like, all right, this is why Cesaro isn't being pushed. He validated as to why we don't see Brock Lesnar on a regular basis.
Yep.
Because he's a big draw. So he was just kind of open about everything. He wasn't BSing as much as I expected him to be.
Well, what I liked was when he was asked about the CM Punk situation, he was like, listen, sucks that Punk got his termination papers on his wedding day. And, whether he knew or he didn't know, it sucked. But I liked what he said when he said that he hopes to be able to work with him much like him and Austin and him and Hogan ended up doing. And, he talked about
professionally.
Yeah, because I think that the problem is, and this is where the disconnect stems from, Vince McMahon is all about making bread. Triple H is all about making the business better, but he can't switch off being a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Like Triple H can't shut that off. Like
yeah, I can see that.
Like, dude, you can't go out there. Go ahead.
He wants to make the company better, but he's still competitive. He's just like, you're not gonna go over on me.
Exactly.
Like, we're gonna help the company, but not at my expense.
Exactly. Like he refuses to take a L. You know what I mean? Like Vince was like, dude, he refuses to take a L. Like when Vince said, listen, it took Jim Ross to get involved for Stone Cold to come back. Dude, he was going to fine Stone Cold $650,000. And he ended up eating a $250,000 fine
$250
for walking out. But that's what I'm saying. Like Vince doesn't have that anymore. He doesn't have the one guy. And he also said it, CM Punk is a unique personality, which is true.
He knows he can make money off of him.
Right.
That's why he's easy. I felt like he kind of tried to keep it civil. It's like, all right, like Punk was sorry, and he did it. So, leave a sliver of hope that Punk come back. Because everyone knows Punk is money.
But the problem is that
I felt like he was doing damage control.
He was doing damage control, and the other thing was that he pretty much reinforced that, yeah, he's out of touch because he views certain things differently, but he also acknowledged the fact that Triple H kind of fucked up. Because that's really it. Think about it. You're looking at it from the standpoint of you have Triple H out there, and Triple H is bringing up, the Kevin Steens, the Hideo Itamis, the Finn Balors, most of that roster from NXT. Those are all guys that, him and William Regal, who's his boy, are finding and picking and doing all this stuff. And at the end of the day, that's all well and good, but it's because they're the superstars you're creating. Yeah. Again, it falls back to the old WCW thing. If you didn't create him, he doesn't get pushed. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole thing.
So, yeah, that's where you're coming from.
Triple H has no understanding of, dude, you're a suit. Stop thinking you're going to put your trunks on and go out there and do some shit. You're a suit. Like, everybody's like, oh, yeah, well, you know, if Sting can't work with The Undertaker, he's going to work with Triple H. Why? You know? Why? Why is that necessary?
Because Triple H needs his big Mania match. He needs it.
You know,
obviously.
it's like why aren't you putting him with a Bray Wyatt? You know what I mean? Or a Dean Ambrose. Or anybody else. Like, why is it that, oh, I got to help Sting get over for this match? No, you don't. No, you don't.
I was actually kind of hoping because on the network they put out the new Monday Night Wars episode, and
right.
the whole the episode was basically Sting and Taker.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that's kind of like preluding or the word I'm looking for. It's leading up to their match.
Well, the way I see it is, you know, the Undertaker. Go ahead.
I was reading, because, you know, WWE puts out like the random articles,
right,
of like dream matches, and they did like top five guys to wrestle Sting. You know, Undertaker wasn't anywhere on the list, but number one was, of course, Triple H.
Which is
stupid.
stupid.
I find that interesting that you say that.
Which is stupid. The way I see it is like this: Triple H, like Vince said when Triple H said in an interview that Vince was like, "Yo, when you gonna stop going out there with the boys and come and get behind a desk?" It's because Vince knows, like, dude, you got to shut it off. You got to shut it off. You want to run this company. It's not personal. It's like, no, he didn't want to lose to you, you know?
But it's his ego. His ego is going to be his downfall. So it's like you can't be the owner of the company and the top guy.
Nope, you can't. You can't be both. Sometimes you
can't accept it.
Exactly, and like I said, it's taking the L. You got to take that L, dude. You got to take a back seat. Just because, you know, your wife and you are on TV every week, you are characters, just like Vince, just like Shane, hell, just like Linda. You know? But at the end of the day, it's the performers that are part of that. And that's where, you know, like, I like what Steve Austin said. He was like, listen, you know, what's up? You know, like, is Randy Savage going into the Hall of Fame? And Vince was like, fuck. Vince was like, yeah. Yep. Yeah, he is.
When? Yep.
Exactly. And
when? Yep.
Exactly. It's like, yep, he's going in. Don't know when, but yeah, he is. And you know what it is? Things like that.
2060.
Exactly. But even though Vince probably has his issues, Vince knows that the right thing to do is to put him in there.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's
as out of touch as Vince may be, he's not stupid.
Nope.
He's not.
And that's
it's just like Vince and Triple H both bring good and bad things to running the company.
Exactly. Like, Triple H has done amazing things with NXT, but I also know that the dude doesn't know how to switch off. Like, he's proud of NXT because Vince doesn't touch it. You know?
Yeah, that's all. It's. I feel like it's more ego-driven than actually helping the talent.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, NXT is my project. Like, I did that. That's the best stuff out there. But not because the guys, because it was my idea. That's how I feel he views it.
Mm-hmm. That's the way it was.
Yeah.
You know, the way and this will bring it full circle. The way I see it is there's a lot of fault on both sides for different reasons, but at the end of the day, we have to accept the fact that CM Punk may never come back. And as such, we got to respect the guy and where he stands. With regards to the company side, our job at that point is just to find the guys that aren't there, in the sense of, like, the Antonio Cesaros. The only way those guys are going to get over is if the fans continue to support them with intensity and you know, they acknowledge the how good these guys are and force the company to take notice.
Yeah, Vince set himself on the show. The audience makes the guys.
Yep, He said it. He
So
and,
it's like as soon as you stop bashing them for messing up with CM Punk and pushing the talent they have there, it's not going to change.
well, he kind of alluded to something, and this will close it out. And I can agree to an extent. He said that these guys aren't grabbing the brass ring as much as The Rock, Stone Cold, and that generation did. Like, he said that they're afforded more stuff to get over, so in a way they're not working as hard. Do you agree with that?
No, because when you see, guys like you guys mentioned, Ziggler and Cesaro Ziggler especially works his ass off every week and still gets like every now and then he'll get his chance, and same thing with Cesaro, but then they just kind of like drop the ball with him, and I feel like that's contradicting what he says, that the fans make the guy, because the fans are behind him full all the way, and they just don't get that big spot that they deserve. So I mean, to a degree, it makes sense, but I don't feel that's the same for everyone.
Yep,
there are guys out there who work their ass off on a weekly basis and still get the shovel.
No, and that's how it goes. I mean, there's guys, and he's like, yeah, these guys aren't going out there. And listen, when Vince McMahon was putting together the trinity of The Rock, Stone Cold, and to a degree, depending on what kind of a fan you are, you could interchange Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and The Undertaker. But when he put that trinity together, the internet wasn't as popping as it was. There was no Twitter, Facebook, YouTube wasn't really a thing yet. And these guys were at the top of the food chain. They revolutionized the way that the product was consumed. They made, Austin 316 a part of pop culture. Rest in peace. If you smell what The Rock is cooking. These guys had a harder climb than the newer guys.
Yeah, but with like all their social media, they have the chance to get them. Basically they're getting themselves over, and it's easier for wrestlers now with all the social media. But it's just like there are Zack Ryder is probably the best example. He got himself over all on his own. He had the YouTube show. He ran social media. That was all his thing. And look where that got him. Nowhere. He was hot for like a month, and then Kane killed him dead.
Yeah, but
so it's just like, I see it. It's like the guys work. There are guys that work, and they still just don't get where they don't get the recognition.
Well, here's where I see that. A guy like Zack Ryder is a great example. Zack Ryder got over being a comedy gimmick. And the comedy gimmicks, and we've said, and you've said this, and I've said this, and Quark has said it when you guys do the Buried Show, comedy gimmicks can only go but so far. And in Zack Ryder's case, the comedy gimmick went but so far, and then what happened was they just stopped believing in him. Like the fire, like I've always said, wrestling is very, very, very school-like, where, the coaches have their favorite players. Creative has their favorite guys that they like to write for, guys that they want to work with. And Zack Ryder might have had a guy who was like, yo, Zack Ryder's the truth. We got to push this guy. And everybody's like, he's all right. But if you say, it's just such a weird thing. Like, Zack Ryder's a unique case.
I don't feel Zack Ryder was much of a comedy game. I feel like he was just being himself. And he was like personable and likable, not so much comedy. And they gave him
the comedy gimmick
based off his personality. They gave him the big fist. They gave him the big Zack Ryder hairdos and everything. But I feel Zack Ryder himself, he got himself over not for being comedy, but for being personable and likable.
Yep.
I feel like he could have been like a big face, not John Cena level, but he could have been like one of the bigger faces if they'd given him the chance.
No, it's true. I think for me, there's a unique there's a uniqueness about Zack Ryder that he didn't have creative pulling the strings. He actually leveraged what the WWE only recently started leveraging, which was the internet, the media. Like, Zack Ryder became Zack Ryder because the fans had such a unique connection with him. Like, he didn't have to go out there and sell 1 million shirts and get cheered. I mean, that came afterwards, but the YouTube numbers, the way he connected with everybody, that was ahead of its curve at the time, you know? Like, nobody was doing that.
He made tout a thing.
You know, he made tout, but even before the tout thing, he made WWE genuinely want to fuck with the internet.
Yep.
Like, think about it. You know, Twitter followers, hashtags, videos on YouTube, all that shit. Zack Ryder was honestly the first guy. He paved the way for those guys. You know?
And they gave him shit for it. It's like, it's just like, you've done all this, but it wasn't our idea, so fuck you. That's the way that's the way it seemed to me. Like, you did all this, you made like social media a thing within the company. Now we kind of, like, I feel like they just took credit from him and gave him the shit for it.
Yep, I agree 100%.
It's like as far as like Vince, man, I think he still does have a point. Like, there are guys, like, no one wants to take risks, or no, they don't want to, like, back an attitude there. They, like, guys would go out there, like what Punk did. He would do things he'd know he'd get in trouble for.
Yep.
Like, no, you can't do this, but he knows it's going to get ratings, and at the end of the day, that's what they care most about. So it's like, all right, well, it's like they'll take the slap on the wrist, but at the end of the day, it's going to pay off.
Yep, like the pile driver on John Cena.
Sorry. Absolutely.
There you go. But
like the excess, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of where we're at with regards to that. Just it's either you're gonna hate CM Punk because you feel he abandoned you, or you're gonna feel empathy and sympathy because of his situation, or you're just gonna. But you know, it's one of those things where at the end of the day, the fans are gonna orchestrate and they're gonna dictate the trends that the company's gonna follow, but the company also is going to, on the DL, navigate the fans towards the guys they want, i.e. Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's going to happen. Like, yeah, we want you. We want to cheer for Cesaro. No, go ahead.
No, that's just the way it's been.
Yep.
It's a false sense of power. It's like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, and they are like those rare cases where fans really get behind someone. But most, like, the fan favorites, those are the guys they want you to cheer for.
Yep. Like, it's like yeah, we want you to cheer for Dean Ambrose, but you're only cheering for him because Roman Reigns isn't here.
Yeah.
You know, we want you to cheer for Roman Reigns. Sometimes it depends. You have some power. It's like I said, like you know, oh, J&J are going to be one of the J&J Security are going to be one of the teams you can vote for. Oh, Maggle, wouldn't it be good if J&J Security went out there? Yeah, they'd look great out there with you know. Like, and then people are like, you know, JBL's right. That would be kind of funny. Fuck it, let me vote for that.
I voted for them purely just because I wanted to see if they'd actually let Mercury and Noah actually wrestle. That's what I wanted to see the most, to see if they still could actually wrestle. And it was humorous, but it was still goofy. So
I wanted to run through a couple of things. NXT TakeOver airs next Thursday. Obviously on the dock is Kevin Owens debuting, aka Kevin Steen, which I pray that he comes out and costs Sami Zayn the belt. I need that in my life, dude. Need that immediately.
That'd be fantastic. I'd prefer that over him coming out and jobbing some dude.
Yeah, him coming out and
I didn't even consider that.
Him coming out and beating CJ Parker for the 95th time, because you know that's the glorified guy. Because you know Mojo's hurt, so. But that's, you know, we got his debut on tap. Finn Balor and Hideo Itami taking on the Ascension, which I'm sure is gonna solidify Balor and Itami as a legit team, and the Ascension will then be sent right up to Raw. The Lucha Dragons and the Vaudevillains. I kind of want the Vaudevillains to get the belts because I think the Lucha Dragons would really be great for the tag team division on the main roster. People want to buy those masks. People want to love those dudes. They want that shit,
and
dude.
They're fun.
You know, and the Vaudevillains are awesome.
Something like both the kids and the adults can like.
Exactly. Charlotte, if Charlotte does drop the belt to Sasha Banks, that's because she's coming up to the main roster to fuck people up. And Neville and Zayn, it's weird because it can go either way. If Neville retains, it's because they want to do something more with Zayn, who's been on the road with the main roster for quite some time. But if Zayn wins the belt, then, you know, they may use that as Neville's exit and bring him up to the main roster. And not for nothing, just joking around, I was like, yo, imagine a match with like Adrian Neville and Brock Lesnar, and Adrian Neville hits him with the Falcon Arrow. Oh, it'd be insane.
It never happened, but at the end.
Well, you know what's funny? There's a guy, and I'm actually glad you called in. There's a guy that they've been looking at. His name is Uhaa Nation, UHAA Nation, Nation. Independent wrestler out of California who did a WWE tryout camp in September, and people were really digging his matches. They said that WWE sent scouts to Pro Wrestling Guerrilla to watch him wrestle. And dude's been wrestling since 2009. He's a solid dude. He's remember when I was talking about Willie Mack? Well, it's a similar type of deal with Uhaa Nation, except, you know, he's incredible. He's insane.
He's like a really big athletic dude.
Yeah, like he's super athletic. Like he's big, but he's athletic. Like you're like, oh man, that's insane. Like definitely, you know, there's a couple YouTube videos. I'll put them on the fan page. But dude is 6 feet tall, weighs about 240, has high flying and power wrestling offense.
Good.
But there's a problem.
So is he gonna be like the next?
He's black. Meet the newest member of the New Day. I'm sorry to say it, but it's like Big E was kicking ass in NXT. He comes up here, they do jack and shit with him. Xavier Woods, that was this promising prospect, comes up, again, nothing. Kofi Kingston, Shelton Benjamin 2.0, nothing. Am I wrong?
Black in WWE doesn't get you very far.
Nope, sadly it does not. I want to break down the TLC matches. I just want to put one out, which that's going to be announced on SmackDown. So if you don't want SmackDown spoiled, fast forward through this next announcement. So the matches thus far are John Cena and Seth Rollins in a tables match, Ambrose and Wyatt in a TLC match, Ryback and Kane in a chairs match, Rowan and Big Show in a steel stairs match. Yet the Miz and Mizdow are going to take on the Usos in just a regular run-of-the-mill tag team match. But the match that gets announced, not a nothing match. It's just unless they add a stipulation next week. Last but not least, the IC title will be defended in a ladder match. And I said to myself, ladies and gentlemen, Dolph Ziggler's Shawn Michaels moment is going to happen at this pay-per-view.
Yep.
Playing the part of Razor Ramon, Luke Harper.
Wow. Okay.
That match is
very okay with that.
Dude, that match will probably...
I'm incredibly okay with that.
Yep. In a ladder match, I said that match will probably be booked like Razor and Shawn Michaels. Like, it's going to be insane.
Yeah, I won't see Luke. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Ziggler is going to be... They could steal the show. That and then the TLC match with Ambrose.
Yep.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, even Cena and Rollins, because I think Cena wants to put Rollins over. You know, he wants to make Rollins that guy. Like, you could see it.
Yeah, the way on Raw, you know, they're giving Rollins more mic time. Like,
Yep.
But that ladder, the Ziggler and the ladder match is going to be ridiculous.
Yep, because Luke Harper is one of the best workers they got.
Minus the stairs match, the card doesn't look too shabby for right now.
Nope, it doesn't. You know Ryback is going to kill Kane dead. You know this. He may pop that giant cyst on Kane's back. with a chair shot.
Probably a staph infection.
Oh, please. So it's not every day we talk about what the fuck wrestling news, but there is an arrest warrant out for Heath Slater. A misdemeanor arrest warrant.
Too hard, man.
Yeah, a misdemeanor arrest warrant. According to Fox 5 in Atlanta, there's an arrest warrant for Heath Slater, a.k.a. Heath Miller, for an incident at WrestleMania 27's after party in 2011. According to the report, a woman named Corinne Oliver, who was working security, claims that Slater put her in a chokehold and tried to get her into an elevator to drag her to his room at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Atlanta. She claims the attack caused damage to 5 vertebrae in her back. She reported the matter to Allied Barton Securities, her employer, and she waited 3 months to file the police report because she thought that the supervisors were going to file the report, and they didn't. She went on to say that other wrestlers saw what Slater was doing and didn't help. According to the warrant, it is an incident was simple assault and battery. So, yeah.
I just don't understand why this took 3 years. In there 4 years.
He could have just been like, why don't you come back to the room? I'm the one-man band, baby. No? Not good? No? Maybe he could have showed her his tattoos, his terrible-ass tattoos. Maybe he could have worn... Maybe he could have had Gator with him. This is my boy, Titus O'Neil. My boy want to take you back to his room, yo. Terrible.
I don't want to automatically say one party's lying, but come on, 4 years, damn near 4 years.
Yep.
For this to come out.
I don't know, man, but he got to go answer that warrant, and he better get that taken care of. Otherwise, it won't be good.
But as far as things like that, though, the WWE doesn't handle that, do they?
According to what Jerry McDevitt said in a statement, the charges are filed against Slater and not the company. Translation: figure that shit the fuck out.
You're on your own.
Exactly.
Slide her some dough and get out of here so you can go back to your job.
Yep, that's what he's gonna have to do, because think about it. If it comes out that it's like some sort of bordering on like rape or some sort of a sexual assault charge, they got to cut him loose.
You're done. Yeah, you're done.
You're done at that point. 3-4 years doesn't matter.
And it's slide her some dough, get it over with before. Yeah.
Well,
damn, son.
She's not saying that that she's gonna. It was sexual. She said he was trying to pull her back to the room, but according to what they were saying, that once the information is fully received by the WWE, they'll take appropriate action. But the thing is, again, if she's got the injuries and she allegedly reported it to somebody and they covered it up, that's a bigger issue. If she's only claiming she got injured, then maybe some money. But if she's claiming yo, this dude was trying to pull me into the elevator to sexually assault me, that's a wrap. You got to cut that dude loose immediately.
You break 5 vertebrae in the spine. You didn't do that by just a simple pull.
Yep.
Just dragging her into an elevator. Something went down.
Yeah, something's going on there. So we'll see what the deal is with that.
With all the NFL bullshit that they have to go through. It's now's not the time for that to come out.
Yep. Anything and we talked about this, anything sexual, racial, like the Alberto Del Rio thing, any of that stuff, they don't need it. They do not need the press. Nope. They need to fall the fuck back with that stuff. So that's
hopefully Slater gets that handle, because we need jobbers in this company.
We need them. We need a redheaded Barry Horowitz out there getting his ass kicked.
We need somebody to get mad at.
Yep, we need that. But that's actually going to wrap up the wrestling for this week. Quark informed me that there will be no Buried this week. You guys are taking care of your college stuff.
Buried Awards.
But the Buried Awards.
We do have the Buried Awards coming up following the Slammies.
There you go. So the Buried Awards will be coming up. I definitely got to take a moment and congratulate Quark and Blade as they are approaching 10 episodes of their show. The Buried Show, which you can hear on RageWorks.net or MyTakeRadio.com, as well as iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio, for a couple of reasons. The greatest test for a podcast is making it past 10 episodes, and Quark and Blade have been holding on strong, so definitely got to congratulate both guys for that. As always, you can find Quark and Blade on Twitter at QuarkMTR for Quark and John U. Butler for Blade on Twitter, and of course on the Facebook fan pages as well. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just want to say thank you for giving us the chance to do the Barry Show. I know me and Quark love doing it, and we love that people enjoy listening to it. So we'll be back next week with the Barry Awards, and besides that, just enjoy the show.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Peace. All right, guys, there you have it. With that, we are wrapping up tonight's show. We actually almost went the full 3 hours, but we got to take into consideration the Reebok deal, the CM Punk situation, and of course, Vince and Austin's interview were all hot button topics. My Take Radio will be back later on today. It is officially Thursday, so they will be back. We will be back at 11 p.m. Eastern to break down the latest in gaming and entertainment. So with that said, on behalf of myself, Quark, Blade, Slick, Andrea, Ben, Jay, the Rightist, and the rest of the MTR family, I will catch you guys next week. Again, thank you for your continued support. If you want to listen to archived episodes of the show, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio. For social media, you can find us at My Take Radio, at Rage_Works, and you can also find Rageworks and My Take Radio on Facebook and Google Plus as well. Thanks again, guys. See you guys next week. Peace.
I'm rich, biatch.
That's all, folks.